studios, the home of the Patriots, the Celtics, the Revs, and the Bruins. Boston's home for sports is 95, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Rotation. Sports Hub headlines.
The Celtics and Heat will play in Miami tonight in Game 4 of their first-round playoff series. The Green lead at 2-1. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 here on the BetMGM 98.5, the Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier are still out for Miami. The Celtics have no one listed on their injury report. Last night, Minnesota swept Phoenix 122-116. Indiana took a 3-1 lead on Milwaukee with a 126-113 win. Earlier in the day, the Clippers blew a 31-point lead, but they still beat Dallas 116-111 to even that series at 2. And Jalen Brunson set a new Knicks playoff record with 47 points in a 97-92 win over Philadelphia. Knicks lead 3-1. Bruins are off until tomorrow night when they face Toronto at TD Garden, leading 3-1. There were 4 NHL playoff games yesterday. The Rangers swept the Washington Capitals 4-2. The other 3 games had the winner take a 3-1 series lead. Edmonton beat LA 1-0. Vancouver rallied for a 4-3 win over Nashville in overtime, and it was Colorado 5 and Winnipeg 1. And the Red Sox beat the Cubs 5-4 last night at Fenway Park. Jaron Duran had a 2-run triple, and Tyler O'Neill added a bloop RBI single in the bottom of the ninth to win it for Alex Cora.
We play good baseball. The homer, 2 bloops and a homer. That's what happened in the 8th inning, but overall, a good win. We put some good at-bats, and we won a series, so we can't complain about that one.
Sox have tonight off. They begin a 3-game interleague series with the San Francisco Giants at Fenway tomorrow evening. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
It's not just the games. It's the preseason, the postseason, the drafts, the trades, front office drama, the locker room banter, and you talking all about
blah, 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 blah.
On Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Toucher and Hardy.
Such an fantastic explosion.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Hello. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. 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 Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Open him up with a
Let's talk about cheese.
Bruins are back from the West Coast.
What the Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah. Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is this going to be a great Monday?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy. Our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Town Fair Tire Studios. You can watch us on YouTube. You can simply search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube. And then you go to us. And then you hit subscribe. And then the algorithm will bring you everything related to the show. It's going to be a real treat for you, because then it will prime everything so that you're tasting this show. So you'll be getting lots of opera, lots of colorectal exams. These are the kinds of things that will be showing up now on your YouTube. So we appreciate it.
Glucosamine and chondroitin, garlic, all of our advertisers.
Yep. Boner stuff. Really.
A lot of boner stuff.
A lot of boner stuff, a lot of joint pain. A lot of that kind of stuff. So, what a weekend on the sports calendar. I'll tell you what. And this show went out. Dan was, he's got a side business. He couldn't go. He was invited.
I was. Thank you very much.
He was invited this time.
Very generous.
And I was invited this time.
We were both included. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if you don't know, a lot of people put it on Instagram. If you don't know, there was a time with the old show where Dan and I came into work one day after seeing all these photos of the whole show out together.
The whole show but me and you.
The whole show but me and Dan. And then we were like, what happened? And person, Rich, that did the event was just like, oh yeah, whatever the reason. I don't know. It was whatever.
I loved the reason. It was great.
What was the reason?
So the reason was, well, and since I invited everybody and their significant others, and you don't have one, I just figured that you wouldn't go, and then Fred wouldn't go anyway. So
I don't remember that. Is that
you don't
what
remember
happened?
that?
I forgot that.
Oh no, everybody got invited with a significant other, and he's
What
like, yeah, and I figured,
maniac? Okay, so let's cut the crap. What maniac, even if it was true, would not, when they're thinking to say it, go, ooh, that's worse.
that might not be the best.
No,
thing.
that's worse. That's anything else. That's worse than saying I don't like you. That is worse. That's almost worse than saying I don't like you. Like I find you deficient in some way because you're no
didn't want you
longer
to feel
married.
awkward because you're by yourself. So therefore, I was like, okay, thanks.
I'll tell you what. I do something once a month with 3 friends of mine that are all married, and I am not married. I've brought a female to it the 2 times, but like if I didn't bring if there was a time where they were like, do you, because it's at like a restaurant, right? So if they were like, how many should the reservation make? And I went, oh, I'm coming by myself, and they were like, oh, never mind. Like because you don't have a woman with you, you're worthless to us.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, but
Okay.
I didn't even remember that part.
This time, you guys generously offered.
Oh, it was very generous. And we went to the New England Revolution game where Lionel Messi played, and I forgot my wallet, but never fear, I had my Apple Pay like a youngster.
Oh my God! Like the high tech tween.
If this was 6 months ago, I would have really been stuck. But now that I have I know how to use Apple Pay. I'm a real stud.
You would have been washing dishes.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And don't think they didn't ask me to give the dishwashers a treat and go back there and sign some dishes. Felipe back there was like, could you sign this dish?
Wow.
He's French.
Is that right?
Yeah, Felipe is
He's
French.
right. So wearing a beret.
That's a French name. If you think about it, it is. It's not. It is.
I come to this country to make my pastry, and they tell me no.
Yep, you got to. It's they make you work every station in before you can be sous chef.
Okay.
So we went and we saw Lionel Messi, and a lot of people were very excited. Lionel Messi scored 2 goals. We were there for one of them, and I can honestly, like my kids both played soccer when they were little kids, and I obviously know the goal of the game and some remedial strategy. I got to take everyone's word for it that Lionel Messi is the best because I know so little about soccer, I can't tell.
So some of the highlights I've seen from him since he joined MLS, and we all knew who he was and knew his name.
Sure.
But it's not like I'm Dan O'Brien and I'm getting up at dawn on Saturday mornings to watch Premier League.
Or at least telling people you are.
Right.
That's true.
Excellent point.
Yeah.
It's like, who knows what he's really doing? Who knows what he can even get, on his TV set with his rabbit ears. But the goals that he scored on Saturday, they were similar in that he kind of like got behind the defense. The passes to him were as impressive as the goal.
The through balls past the defenseman. Yes.
The deliveries.
The deliveries.
Yes.
That's true. I can't call it that. That's right.
I think Hardy's immediately dumbing it down on purpose because he used to do work for the Revolution, so I think he knows how to say it, but he's not doing it.
Oh,
And
yeah. I hadn't thought
John's
of that.
popping in as fast as he can with those words.
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, if they go back and say, I understand if Messi, got behind you once and scored a goal. How do you let that happen again?
I can tell you, the Revolution aren't very good.
Well,
I'll tell you this.
That's the one guy.
That's part of it.
That's what
So-
everybody's here to see. Let's not, all right, he's going to do it once. There's no way we're going to let that happen
So
again.
Messi's number 10, and so that I know. So whenever I was watching the game, I just watched him. I didn't matter if the action was on the other end of the pitch. I'm in on it too now, and it didn't matter where the action was. I didn't care. I was just looking at Messi. I'm telling you, he ran as much as a left fielder at Fenway Park in that game. Like, he did not have to move. Like,
he was conserving his energy. When the ball got close to him.
I mean, I don't know anything about soccer. Everyone knows more about soccer than me. You can't tell me he ran more than that, or you don't know what he was doing. No. I don't know what he was doing, but it wasn't running.
Which one is Messi? The guy's standing there. The guy, is he walking? Nope. His feet are planted. There he is. Look for the one guy out there.
The ball's way over there. Why should I have to run anywhere?
Messi. I'll score 2 goals.
Yeah.
Jim, please go ahead. Thank you.
So I want to say to everyone out there in Radioland, I know where you got it was buried in the deep parts of your brain. Felipe was the dishwasher on Three's Company when Jack was fulfilling his dream as a chef in the restaurant. That was his coworker, and in later seasons of Three's Company.
Do you remember?
So it's all good, Freddie T.
Do you remember what happened the first night he opened his restaurant?
I'm gonna assume there was hijinks. I can't remember exactly.
I can tell you, Larry forgot to pass out, or he passed out a bunch of flyers with the wrong day that the restaurant was opening. So Larry brought his Greek family in, and they broke all the dishes. And Felipe, I believe.
Were they all exposing their chest hair?
Oh yeah. Come on. And then they were doing like the Greek dance that no Greek people do. It was a whole thing.
Okay, so I would not. I would have said I have no idea. I have no idea. Now that I know the answer, I maybe would have come up with it. The name of Jack's restaurant. I just looked it up.
Oh Jesus! I just saw the episode. Dan
O'Brien just told me in my ear. Dan O'Brien knew it. Which
oh Jesus!
Spooky.
I literally last week saw the when I was in Hilton Head. I saw the episode.
I find this amazing that you do not know something about this sitcom.
No. Three's Company is not my wheelhouse. It's too early. It was in the 70s.
Okay.
Oh boy, and I let's be honest. It's difficult to get through all of them.
And at that point, Suzanne Summers was gone, so there's no.
No. This by the time the restaurant opened, it was it was the third Chrissy. It was. I just saw the episode. He opens the restaurant. Felipe quits and then comes back, but the Greek Larry's family. Did you know Larry was Greek? No. His family comes in and they get very excited about the restaurant and they smash all the dishes, costing Jack all his money. I don't know the name of it.
Well, it is French.
I don't know the name of it.
Jack's
Bistro. Okay.
Huh.
A little on the nose.
Very creative.
The writers stayed up all night coming up with that one.
I think you can blame the demise of that show on the writers. I absolutely think you can. And also the Suzanne Summers, they wouldn't pay her.
Well, as much a fan as I am of Don Knotts and his entire body of work, yes, going back to the Andy Griffith show, but other vehicles that showcased his talents, I thought Mr. Furley was a bit over the top. I didn't agree with every choice he made in that role.
Is spit take homophobia?
Yeah.
Did he continue to be so shocked by gay antics that he would spit take?
I enjoyed Mr. Roper's more understated disgust of the idea of a homosexual living in the building, as opposed to Mr. Furley, who was come on, too much, Don.
Do you know that there was a spinoff of Three's Company that after? Well, I don't know if it would be. I guess it would be a spinoff after Three's Company was canceled, where it was just Jack, his new wife, and her dad was the benefactor of his restaurant. She was a rich girl. He meets her at the end of Three's Company, which is always spells ratings gold. And they go and they open a restaurant. It ran for one season. And it might have been called Jack's Place or something like that.
Three's a Crowd?
Three's a Crowd.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Yeah. Boy, I can't believe I just saw an episode of Three's Company 2 weeks ago. I was sitting in Hilton Head while my daughter was taking a nap. And lo and behold, there's Three's Company. And
up pops the Logo Network.
Yes, indeed.
The Jenny Lee Harrison, was she the third incarnation of Chrissy?
It was the hottest one. Like the one that was the third Chrissy was hotter than Suzanne Summers, and the second one, in my opinion, was kind of a horse face. So the third one was the hottest Chrissy, whatever the Chrissy was. And I don't know who Jenny Lee Harrison is. Is that his wife on the show, or is that Chrissy?
No, I think she was one of the Chrissy girls, the tall blonde.
She played the character Cindy Snow in seasons 5 and 6.
Yeah, she was the hottest one. In this guy's opinion, she was, I think, prettier than Suzanne Summers, which I know, but not as much as Suzanne Summers was in the show she did with Patrick Dempsey, which my daughter watched every episode of in front of me.
I remember the Ropers. Seems like it was on for a long time. Only 2 seasons.
I don't even think it was on for 2 seasons.
28 episodes.
Yeah, that's not 2 seasons back then. That's a season in 6 episodes.
Well, maybe it was a mid-season replacement, Fred.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't 2 seasons.
All right.
I mean, you're going to call into question my knowledge. Just because you got Jack's Bistro by me doesn't mean that you can just continue attacking. Anyway, we went to the Revolution game, and congratulations to the Revolution. The place was packed out.
Mm-hmm. And thank you to the Revolution. That was very nice of them.
Yeah, but then when I saw who else was in the box, it didn't seem like such a gesture anymore. I mean, Kendra was in there with 2 friends, and I'm like, eh.
Once you see McCarthy in there, you feel 22% less special.
And also 22% less viewing. The tallest guy in the room had a front row seat.
Yeah.
But we had assigned seats, and I know that we had assigned seats, and the people sitting in them did not.
Okay, so this I didn't want to get into it at when we walked in there, you saw the seat. But when you have a ticket for a suite, I don't think anybody pays attention to seat numbers.
Okay, because I've been in a suite where I didn't have a seat, like several times in the station seat. When I say several, I mean like 3. And then I've only had the station suite like 4 times in my life. But those seats are reserved for, like, the Revolution gave us basically the front row of the box. And those were just taken. I don't care. There were kids in it and stuff. I don't care. I mean, I watched the Bruins game for the second half of the time we were there, so I don't care who was in there or not.
I know. I didn't even think to look. I've never looked at a seat number when it's a suite ticket, and this only came up one other time in my life, and it was when my wife was hosting clients in a suite, and 2 people walked in, and they made some people move. And the 2 groups who did not know each other started arguing back and forth. And they weren't even clients. They were like either relatives of the client or they were friends of the friend of, that they gave the tickets to. And they were making such a commotion about it. My wife tried to calm them down and say, everyone just kind of sits where they want. You get up, get something to eat, and if that seat's occupied, these people weren't having it. They're like, nope, these are our seats. Like they had paid for the tickets as opposed to getting the tickets from their father who got them from his boss, blah, blah, blah. And they wouldn't shut up about it. And finally, they were all in their 20s, I guess. I walked outside, and I mother effed them both up and down. I went full dad mode. I said, everyone's going to shut the F up right now or everybody's leaving. I don't care who sits where. I don't want to hear another word. And my wife was mortified. She's like, I'm like, they're not the clients. They're like friends of the clients. And seriously, if they don't shut up, they're all gone. We'll just get security up here. I'm not gonna move, 6 people out myself.
And then
but you know what?
Hardy beat them all up.
No,
he threw a roundhouse kick.
Because that's the way Hardy takes care of business.
It was like listening to your kids argue. It was so nonsensical and stupid because even the people who moved their seats, they kept chirping back at the other people like 4 feet away from them. And it was, I felt like a dad. I went there. I told everybody to shut the F up or they're all going to leave. And you know what? They all shut the F up. and it was very uncomfortable for the next 3 hours.
Which is odd because it wasn't even Hardy's box.
No, I just couldn't. I couldn't.
It was like Hardy.
Have you ever been that like that with your kids?
But isn't it funny that Hardy was just like an ancillary guy there too? Like it wasn't his
no
box.
authority at all. Is effing everybody?
More authority than anyone else in there other than my wife.
I just think that's
fair enough.
They're not your kids. You don't know.
No, but that's not even the point. Like if his wife did it, it's her company's box.
Right.
But Hardy's like, they're just friends of clients. Well, you're just a friend of the person's
You're invited.
company.
I'm married to the host.
But you were still invited.
Shut up, Wallach. I had the second most authority in that suite.
That's arguable.
It's not arguable.
No, because
it's inarguable.
Because I would say that a big time client would have the second most.
No, they're a guest. I am a spouse of the host.
Of course.
Yeah, but your wife doesn't own the box.
Do you want me to draw out the hierarchy of who's in charge of the suite?
No. But I can tell. I guess later in the show we can go into who was there. It was a who's who of people.
Yep.
Host, spouse, everyone else. There's your list right there.
Sick flow
Commit
chart.
that to memory.
That's really good.
Very good. Well, you're how many times in your life have you done that?
Done what?
Like just mother F people up and down that you didn't know. Like adults.
At recent memory, 2.
Okay, because that's a bold. They didn't.
They
didn't threaten to fight you.
It was once on a golf course. No, the time on a golf course, I should have got my ass kicked.
Well, I got in a fight on a golf course, like a physical fight on a golf course.
Well, they kept hitting into us, and one of them, again, I was with my wife.
Did you go all sideways on him and charge with a club?
Protective instinct.
Oh, no,
you
didn't. You didn't use your wife like I'm here with my lady.
They hit into us twice, and the second time it hit the cart.
Oh, that's happened to me before, yeah.
And it was.
I also hit a guy. I forget. We're all over the place, but I hit a guy. If he didn't have his cart, it was like raining. If he didn't have the windshield up, it would have ripped him in the face. But it was his fault because he was like 30 yards from the tee box, like looking for a ball coming back onto our hole.
Yeah.
And I pulled one and just slammed it off this. Like he would have died. Yeah. Like it might have killed him. It could have hit him in the temple. I mean, what's the speed for an adult male off the tee? Like a relatively large adult male.
Well, this is a whole conversation, Fred. Are you talking about post-impact? 150 miles an hour.
All right, so that hits you in the face from 30 yards away. That's gonna leave a mark. All right, so we'll be back. Lots going on yesterday and over the weekend. We'll catch you all up.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, it's Ryan.
Snipe.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. And you can listen to Hardy tell us what happened last evening. What's going down in the streets?
Can we just skip last evening or go back a little bit more and talk about what most of us were talking about over the weekend, Fred? Before, of course, the Celtics and the Bruins both played on Saturday. It's draft weekend. So it's the NFL draft, and the Patriots, as we all know, selected Drake May with their third overall pick. We sat here on Friday. We talked all about it. Went back and forth. Drake May, Drake May, Drake May. Then what? What happened in the second round?
With the 37th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, my New England Patriots select Jalen Polk, receiver, Washington.
Wow.
Hey.
Wow. Oh, God.
They took a receiver?
Holy moly.
Wow. That just blew everybody out of the water. Drop the mic.
Wow.
It's over.
Okay. So I don't even know if I talked to Lockhart about this on Saturday night, but I think it's down with the pick. I think he's okay with it.
Mike told us, from what I remember, that Polk is not
Just have Mike
number
say
one.
it.
Yeah.
Mike, come over here.
Yeah.
He was a Washington receiver. Dunze was obviously on that team as well.
Yeah.
He's not a burner. He's somebody who's got good hands and everything. He's somebody who leaps very well, and he's probably going to be a good number 2 receiver.
Right.
Is this this sounds a little bit like N'Keal Harry. Is he a N'Keal Harry type? Or is he
No, well, he's actually, I think he's not like going to be a total bust.
Okay.
So,
I thought you were going to say not as good as N'Keal Harry.
no. I think this will be better than N'Keal Harry.
All right, because if we have Mike Reiss coming on and the team tried to trade up and it was conceivably to get 2 wide receivers that ended up getting taken before their pick. So this wasn't the kid that now look, this isn't an insult, but it's not the kid that they were targeting in that round.
Xavier. How do you pronounce his last name? Leggett?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Leggett was
everybody
apparently the
knew
guy.
Carolina was going to take him
Okay.
in the first round. Remember, I think John said it last week that he announced that Carolina was taking him.
He basically told everyone that Carolina told him at 30 he wasn't going anywhere past 33.
Yeah.
So the Patriots had 34. They tried to hop over him, and
then Carolina moved up in the first round.
Right.
Yeah, well, but they tried to. I mean, the Patriots tried to move up, but they were denied. Buffalo, or was it Buffalo? Who had that pick?
I think it was Buffalo.
It was Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo denied the Patriots the pick. They didn't want to trade in the division. So they at least had 2 receivers that they were targeting. We'll talk
they
to
both
Reiss
seem
about it.
very similar to the ones that they drafted. They're like the same type of player.
Yeah, it's like the Jets with their running backs. All right. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you, Mike.
And then who else?
Third round. Excuse me. Third round, the offensive tackle out of Penn State, Caden Wallace, 6'4", 314 pounds, so addressing needs at quarterback, wide receiver, offensive tackle. Layden Robinson went in round 4 also to the Patriots, a guard. With the, Javon Baker.
I got an A+ from CBS.
Javon Baker did?
Yep.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. The grades are all over the board.
Marcellus Dial got an A-, but the fun pick is they took Joe Milton.
Yes.
At 6.
With the 193rd pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Joe Milton, quarterback, Tennessee.
Oh, they went.
Get your bazooka ready.
I love it. I love this.
Why?
This reminds me so much of what Kyle Shanahan did when they drafted RG3 and Kirk Cousins later in that draft. My goodness.
Without question, the biggest arm in this draft.
Oh, yeah. Great. All right. So I told you I've known about Joe Milton since 2020, since before COVID. He was a big recruit at Michigan. He got there in 2018. He didn't play for a couple years, which for this cannon-armed stud. This kid's huge, fast, and he's got a cannon.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't play at Michigan for 2 years. Then he was going to start, but then he got beat out by a guy named Cade McNamara.
He's 6'5", 240.
Yeah, there's talk of moving him to tight end, and he's saying he won't do it.
He's not about that at all.
No.
Nope, he wants to be a quarterback.
So then he played 3 years with the Volunteers. He started for 1 season. That Hooker kid beat him out. Now, when he was, remember, this does matter. My parents live in Knoxville, so like all they talk about is Volunteers football. When Mixon got there, transferred to Tennessee, they were like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this kid is unbelievable. There was like all this excitement around this kid, and then he didn't play for 2 years because of Hooker. And then he ended up playing last year. He has every physical gift known to man, and he's just terrible. He's a terrible, terrible, terrible quarterback. He will never, ever, 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 ever play quarterback in the NFL. I bet you anything he will never get into a game. And even the positive description that what you guys just played wasn't the draft I was watching. I actually saw him get taken by the Patriots. I happened to be home, which is rare because I'm just out banging chicks all the time. But I happened to be home, and I saw him get taken, and there was a lady on the coverage, and she was saying, and this wouldn't be so bad because he could be your scout quarterback. And if you were ever playing anyone with a really big arm, like you would have that guy in your scout team.
Very valuable.
That was the ceiling on Joe Milton, was that he would be your scout team quarterback.
Which, by the way, they made a case for, and I thought there was some merit to it about Malik Cunningham. Like, if you're going to play Baltimore, you're going to play, I don't know, Arizona, anybody with some kind of a mobile quarterback, it's like, okay, Malik's going to be a good scout quarterback for you.
Sure.
And they're like, no, we're not going to even keep him on the practice squad for that.
The Patriots have 5 quarterbacks now, 5 of them on the roster. Does Joe Milton make it out of training camp with a Patriot uniform on?
I didn't even think about it until just now. No, he does not. And there was another guy at camp in 2022, and I can't remember his name. The guy had a cannon arm, and he was at camp 2 years ago. And simpleton that I am, we're watching camp and down there doing their shows. I'm like, look at that guy throw the ball. He just launches it and launches it.
Well, it's cool to see.
But even Zoe, who is like you would think would be enamored with stuff like that, is like, no, he ain't. Look, number one, see if he ever makes it off that field on the left. Does he ever go onto the field to the right of us where the bleachers are? That's your first indication. Second indication is, yeah, he can throw the ball real far. So what? Like, yeah, but can't he? No, he can't.
It just seems to me like a complete wasted pick. Like, you could get a kid that he's 24 years old too, by the way. Like, he was in college forever. And he was always like a big shot. And he just never panned out. He's not good. And like, even if you took the kid from Tulane, maybe he could be a backup You know what I'm saying? Like he's like he's like doesn't have a big arm or anything, and you take him late. Like I think he went in the 7th round. Like that kid might be a backup, and then that's a valuable position in the NFL. A guy that can come in and win you a game or two a year, when your starter goes down. But Joe Milton is never going to play quarterback in the NFL. I'm very, very. This isn't like Jason Tatum, who I knew played at Duke and was a top 3 pick. This I'm extraordinarily confident in saying. That Joe Milton's 24 and he was never good. Like, okay, that's 6 years of college football where he was. Everyone goes and think of Tennessee's coach. Like that guy is the guy that would. The guy's a very successful quarterback. Like he probably saw. I think I know that he saw Joe Milton and he was like, "Oh, I'll make him into a quarterback," and he couldn't. He couldn't. If it. You know how everyone said Drake May, and Drake May's got these like incredible physical gifts, and you wouldn't believe it. Joe Milton's bigger and stronger, and he can't play football. He just doesn't have the ability. I don't know if he's dumb. I don't know what the deal is. He can't take anything off that ball. Mm-hmm. God bless. Every receiver is going to break his fingers. The kid. He's one of these kids that they said they were like J.J. McCarthy can't change his velocity. Well, J.J. McCarthy doesn't throw the ball 150 miles an hour. So have fun with that. To me, it just seems like, and everyone said they had a good draft, and I have no idea outside of Drake May about any of the guys. But I do know about Joe Milton. Yeah, it seems like a completely wasted pick. A completely wasted pick. I'm not positive he makes the team.
Well, that's what I was saying. They have 5 quarterbacks now. They have the kid Nathan Rourke, who's actually.
Oh, I thought you were saying Malik Cunningham. My bad. All right, so yeah, okay.
They have this kid Nathan Rourke, who was actually the backup quarterback for the last game of the season when they officially benched Mac Jones and got him out of there. But yeah,
that's a good trivia question. Who was the backup quarterback? Regular season
at the end.
Yeah.
At the end,
I never would get that in a million years.
Yeah, I didn't know that off the top of my head. I had to look it up when I found out Nathan Rourke was on the team. But yeah, Joe Milton he's one of those guys that you put at a carnival. So who can throw a football farther? Try and beat this guy.
Long drive contest.
Farther than that guy. Long drive contest, right. He's the guy. Can you throw the football farther than this guy? Step right up.
Yeah, it's like taking the long drive contest guy and putting him at the Masters, which Hardy strangely is wearing something that says Masters on it today.
I think that's the 4th different Masters hat I've seen.
Well, this was a new one. Seat Cloth brought this back for me.
Oh, nice.
It's understated. That's why I like it.
Right.
Seat Cloth?
Yeah, you have to look at it for a minute before you even know that it's a Masters hat. You can't tell right away.
Big block letters.
It looks like a knockoff Masters hat. It looks like it just is.
You look like a knockoff.
There you go.
Man.
That's right. There's some
home run, Chipper.
There's some guy standing outside of the course.
Out.
All right, very good.
$4.
We'll check in with the Celtics, who play the Miami Heat tonight, and of course recap what happened on Saturday with both them and the Bruins, and something that actually did happen last night in the NBA playoffs out west.
All right, we will have that for you in just a moment.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics visit Miami tonight for Game 4 of their first-round playoff series. After a big win Saturday night, Celtics lead the best of 7, 2-1. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 here on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier still out for Miami. As for the Bruins, they're off until tomorrow night when they host Toronto at TD Garden, leading that best of 7, 3-1. And the Red Sox beat the Cubs last night 5-4 at Fenway Park. They took 2 out of 3 from Chicago. They have tonight off. They'll begin their 3-game interleague series with San Francisco at Fenway tomorrow night. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your drive-through oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change, now open in Franklin, Billerica, and Peabody. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7 o'clock.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown turns the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Scored in the foul.
Listen to home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
what they're doing is they're on the roof of a building and they hit a golf ball and then they start playing golf around the city.
That's right.
I guess if
Was
it's
it
not
in world?
No, certainly not the Gin Blossoms. He has that. He could
no,
tell you everything about that.
I'm confusing them with the Refreshments because Feel the Pain and Banditos, very similar songs.
Oh, Steve Craig loved Banditos. It's his favorite song. I worked with a guy who was a music DJ. His favorite song is Banditos. That's his favorite song that's ever been played. He's a man in his 60s, and his favorite song that's ever been written and performed in the history of music is Banditos.
That's not true.
He's a great guy. Steve Craig, I like him a lot. His favorite song is Banditos.
So just how far down do you want to go? We can talk it out over a cup of Joe, and we can...
Yep.
Like I was a supermodel.
Go and Joe.
Uh-huh.
Anytime you say cup of Joe, you're just talking like you normally talk. Well done. You had all your life to write the lyrics, and that's what you came up with.
Well, Saturday night, nobody was paying attention because they're all tuned into their Apple TVs watching Messi at Gillette Stadium.
We were there.
The Celtics did play, and as is often the case, Fred, in these NBA playoffs, the better team, the team with the better players, after losing a game, realizes, oh, we're the better team. We have the better players. We're going to win this series, and that's what happened as the Celtics defeated the Miami Heat in Miami, 104-84. Al Horford happy to still be out there getting it done.
For me, the mindset is always thinking team and helping our team be in the best position. And, I'm just very grateful to be in the league for this long and being able to impact the game.
So the Celtics are now up 2-1 in the series. They have a chance to get even closer tonight as they play the second game there in Miami.
And they would play Indiana in the next round if Indiana beats Milwaukee.
No.
They played New York.
Cleveland, the Cleveland-Orlando winner is who they get. That's the 4-5.
Okay. All right. So that's tougher.
Yes.
I was going to say, if you get Indiana.
Yeah, those are the two series at the bottom side of the bracket.
And then they would most likely play New York in the following round.
Yes. New York, right now it lines up with New York in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Okay. Which might be a little bit of a series.
Yes. Although, if you look at the Knicks roster and who is contributing for them, it's Jalen Brunson and then everybody
Well, they
else.
won a couple games with Jalen Brunson not playing well.
No, I know, but yesterday...
No, I know what happened yesterday, John.
Oh, man.
Oh, I'm aware.
Okay.
But Brunson went off.
They're down a center. Mitchell Robinson is can't play. He's got a bad ankle. I mean, they needed 17 rebounds from Josh Hart yesterday to win.
But the thing is that the Knicks are an exceedingly physical team.
Yep.
And they have a better coach. And those
must.
would seem to be the two Achilles heels of the Celtics, is toughness and coaching. Even though Hardy did have lunch with Missoula.
Oh, and he's plenty tough. Don't you worry about that. He could size up anyone in that restaurant and tell you who he could kill.
I don't doubt you. I don't doubt that he did that. Seems like the
Kinda
kind of guy that would.
He's kind of like Jason Bourne, you know?
Is that a conversation you've had? Hey, Joe, could you take that guy over there in the corner?
Don't worry about our conversation.
Okay.
The grilled octopus was delightful.
And they also they shook hands and said, nothing at this table will leave this table.
Yeah.
When you got to respect that. Go ahead.
All right. Back to the NBA here for a moment, as last night the Phoenix Suns fell to Minnesota 122-116. Kevin Durant was impressed.
I'm so impressed with Ant, my favorite player to watch. Just grown so much since he came into the league at 22.
Yeah, I love him. You know I love him. By the way, the Phoenix Suns are in a pretty funny situation. Bradley Beal had one of his worst games ever, apparently, yesterday. If you're familiar with Bradley Beal's career, apparently that was one of the worst games he's ever had. They can't get away from him. They are stuck. They can't get rid of Durant, Beal, or Booker. Like, it can't happen. So they got to run this all back. Like, there's very little they can do.
They just signed your favorite player, Grayson Allen, to a new contract. He's an excellent three-point shooter, or was this last year. And you have those three stars, and you just got swept in the first round of the playoffs.
You're putting Allen, those three stars. Okay, you're not putting Allen with them. Yes,
No.
Well, that's the point, is that they're stuck with Booker, Beal, and Durant, and it just doesn't work. Because Booker had 49 points yesterday. Durant had 33. and they still lost. They got swept in that series. So conceivably, your stars did what they were supposed to do, and they still can't win. So they're never going to win. They're just never. It's not going to be better next year. And I guess there's this narrative that they didn't play together this year, but that's just not true because Durant and Booker played more this year than they have in several seasons.
Beal was hurt a lot, but there's no excuse for what happened to them.
Well, and then also Durant, Beal, and Booker are injury prone, so it's not like they're going to just float through a year without getting hurt. So, I mean, it's kind of funny. That's just an abject disaster. Like, they're stuck. They're screwed. Sort of like Milwaukee.
The best part is the new owner came in, and the GM didn't want to make all these trades. We can't give away all of these picks. We can't give away our entire future. And the owner's like, damn it, I just own this team. You will do this. And they traded away their entire future, and this is what they have.
And so everyone who defends owners that make decisions, which happens, strangely happens, this is what you want?
Great.
This is what you want. You want to pay and devote time to something that's just a masturbatory tool of some billionaire that doesn't know what they're doing. You and I could point to Durant and Beal and go, them. Like, I mean, that's easy. Like, I can do that. You could give me a stat sheet of the season statistics and I can go, him? Like, I can do that.
Yeah.
It's building a team I can't do.
Yeah. Minnesota, by the way, they sweep Phoenix. So that's it. 122-116. Sixers missed, I believe, 10 straight field goal attempts at the end of their game against the Knicks yesterday.
They're not finishers, if you didn't know.
Yeah, to lose 97-92. So they are on the brink of elimination as the Knicks now lead that series 3-1. I mean, watching Philadelphia take the most horrific shots and missing them horrifically on top of it.
They did
air balls.
It was a 10-0 run. And then they just started throwing the ball out of bounds, like on successive, like 3 out of 4 possessions. And I mentioned it I'm talking about there would be someone would make a cut and then Embiid would throw the ball, misanticipating the cut. Like I'm talking about literally throwing the ball into the stands. Like I think they had turnovers on 4 straight possessions.
They did, but the problem for me was on defense. Jalen Brunson was the only guy doing anything on offense. He scored 47 points. The team had under 100 as a team. 47 of their 97 came from one guy, and they seemed unwilling or unable to defend him. He was all alone down the stretch on a couple of plays.
And the thing with Philadelphia is that they have the wherewithal now to get another star. But it's just got to be if Embiid and Maxey, if they don't throw fits. There could be they're apparently in a position this offseason to make another move to bring in another star, as are the Knicks. The Knicks have a ton of picks and stuff.
Philadelphia is in a tough spot, though, because Embiid gets hurt a lot.
There's something wrong with Embiid. He had a chance. I mean, it was really one of their last chances to at least get within a field goal last night. He had an open look from about 10 feet.
Oh, I saw that.
Okay, so, all right, you don't want to take that shot. Nobody shoots mid-range, jumpers anymore in the NBA. But then he almost a clear lane to the basket. Instead of just going up over the defenders to dunk it, he tried to go underneath and do this reverse layup. Like, what are you doing?
That was Ben Simmons. That was scary. That was Ben Simmons. Simmons had an open. This is what started his downfall with Philadelphia. Simmons had a wide open shot at the end of a series that would have helped Philadelphia. He went in for a dunk and had the ball taken from him. Embiid was, and Hardy's right, all by himself from 10 feet. Passed up the shot, drove the lane, and missed the layup.
And didn't dunk it.
I know.
Well, it doesn't look cool when big guys dunk. So maybe you do a little dipsy-do flipperoo.
Yeah, at that point in the game, I don't know that they were going for style points.
Well, you got to have razzle-dazzle. It is entertainment. All right, we'll be back. Mike Reiss is going to join us. He's going to talk. He's got interesting stuff on Drake May and the whole draft.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub. The Sports Hub, the Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
The Celtics had last night off. They wrap up their stay in Miami this evening by playing Game 4 of their first-round playoff series with the Heat, leading 2-1. The Celtics won big Saturday night, but Peyton Pritchard knows this series is far from over.
We know they're a competitive team. They're going to come out and fight, so it brings the best out of us. Come out here and try to win on the road.
Green are completely healthy for this game. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier remain out for Miami. Last night, Minnesota swept Phoenix out of the playoffs, 122-116. Indiana now leads Milwaukee 3-1 after a 126-113 win. Clippers beat Dallas 116-111 to even that series at 2. And the Knicks beat Philadelphia 97-92 to take a 3-1 series lead. Bruins are off tonight. They play tomorrow night against Toronto at TD Garden, leading that first-round playoff series 3-1. Florida hosts Tampa Bay tonight, leading 3-1. The winner of that series will play the winner of the Bruins in Toronto in round 2 of the postseason. The Dallas Cowboys have this morning officially signed Patriots free agent running back Ezekiel Elliott, and Tyler O'Neill's pop fly single in the ninth scored Jaron Duran with a winning run. Red Sox beat the Cubs 5-4. They're off tonight. They'll play San Francisco at Fenway tomorrow night. And Vaughn Grissom, the infielder the Sox got from Atlanta for Chris Sale, is expected to join the big club finally tomorrow. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Rapid Flow Sewer and Drain Cleaning. This spring, a tree root may shift and grow through your sewer line. Do what Beetle did. Call 800-286-FLOW or visit rapidflowinc.com. With Rapid Flow, one call solves it all. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Ta-da! We're back with Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
With the third pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the New England Patriots select Drake May, quarterback, North Carolina.
Yes, the NFL Draft. Mike Reiss is the ESPN NFL Nation reporter covering the Patriots. He joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Mike, hello, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Fred, Hardy, John. Great to be with you as always. How we doing?
Good.
We're
Thanks
doing well. You had a very good piece recapping the draft, including some intel on, as you put it, intel on Drake May. The big fans of his at the University of North Carolina, huh?
Fred, thank you for that. So I talked to Mac Brown, the North Carolina head coach, just about, what would you tell Patriots, I guess fans, reporters, what should we know about him? And I just think it's so interesting to me, not following college sports, as closely, obviously, as I do the NFL, just how this NIL has changed college sports. And Mac Brown told me that Drake May, with these NIL deals that these athletes can get now, where they get paid, to represent companies, is that Drake May, Fred, wouldn't take any NIL deals unless his teammates were involved. So like a company would say, we want you to, we'll give you our, a seafood dinner, every week if you, whatever, give us a commercial. And he said, yeah, I'll do it, but I need my offensive line to have it too. And so I thought it was he's a little bit of a throwback, Fred. And then I guess after the 2022 season, the offensive coordinator left at North Carolina to go to Wisconsin. And I guess when that happens in college, a lot of times players leave, because the new offensive coordinator comes in, maybe, he doesn't feel the same way about you as a player. And I guess Drake May went into Mac Brown and said, you don't have to worry about me leaving. I'm not going anywhere.
So where do you land on Drake May and where you think he'll be by the end of camp in terms of his development, his NFL readiness, and if you had to guess right now, is he going to be taking the field early in the season?
Hardy, that is so hard to answer because I think it ties to a bigger question, and it's what type of coaching is he going to get?
Right.
You know, and I think to me it's an unknown, right? So Alex Van Pelt's the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach TC McCartney, got Ben McAdoo, who's a senior offensive assistant. And maybe one of the more interesting things, Hardy, that I heard just from talking to people around the league that they say is going to be so important for the Patriots is who is Drake May's quarterback guy here? Like, it can't be three of them. It can't, so it's got to be like one person to help bring them along. So I want to see what that looks like before I can, before answering that decisively. 26 career starts, and ideally, I think they'd like to give him a little time to bring him along. But the physical traits, if he shows he's the guy, I think Jerod Mayo, the head coach, would owe it to the team to put him out there right away.
Regardless of where Drake May shakes out in all of this, it's a very crowded quarterback room right now. The Patriots have to believe 5 of them as it stands, and a real surprise, we were just talking about it in the first hour, of taking Joe Milton in the 6th round. Where does everyone wind up, including Milton?
Yeah. So, John, it won't be 5 much longer, so I think Bailey Zappi and Nathan Rourke would be, the two of those two. I wouldn't expect at least one of them to be here much longer. I would pass along a couple numbers. Last year, 66 different quarterbacks started a game in the NFL. The year before, 68 quarterbacks started a game in the NFL. So you need more than one, but I think that's that's part of the reason the team is loading up. I think that pick that actually caught me off guard a little bit. I think it caught Joe Milton off guard a little bit when we talked to him after the draft. They'll keep 3 would be my thought, and it would be Drake May with Jacoby Brissett and Joe Milton as a developmental type. And then maybe you also even keep one on the practice squad for 4. And I think that also ties to who's making the decisions now in Foxborough. Elliot Wolf's dad, Ron Wolf, when he was with the Packers, was known for always taking quarterbacks every year when he was running the show, just because of the importance of the position.
I have a kind of a silly question, but I don't know the answer, and you would more than anyone else I know. If Joe Milton comes into camp and is just atrocious, like can't play the position, do you think based on where they drafted him, they would just keep him anyway, or do you think there's an opportunity that he could not make this team?
So Fred, that's actually not a silly question, because I think there's 2 things. That point in the draft, pick 193, that's not one of those spots where you say you're definitely on the roster, no matter what. For me, that cutoff is usually the 4th round. Okay. If you got picked in the 4th round or earlier, you're usually going to have a little more of a grace period to make the roster. So I wouldn't say he's guaranteed a roster spot based on where he was picked. And what I thought you were going to ask was, would they consider trying him at a different position?
Well, that was my follow-up, is because I'm pretty familiar with him from the Michigan and Tennessee stuff. He can't play the position. So but he's huge. Yeah. And I mean, he's a huge guy. He's a tight end size right now.
He's 6'5", 240.
Yeah. So he could, and he's not slow, so he could conceivably be a tight end. This is how good a quarterback he is. So this has been brought up, and what are how is he meeting this? What are you hearing about that?
Well, that's right on it. I mean, and so we the way they do it, and the Patriots do a great job at this. They pick the player, and then we're interviewing the player within 10 minutes after the pick. And Fred, he was asked that, two times, and he said, that will never happen. Meaning Joe Milton was asked, how would you feel about playing tight end? He said, that will never happen. And then Jerod Mayo, after the draft, was asked about it. He said, we drafted him as a quarterback, but Mayo did leave open the possibility that, look, you get to camp and you put the pads on maybe something could happen, that leads to that, but that is not their intention right now.
Yeah. And so as you spent the weekend talking to analysts, because I would like to keep you for one more break if we could.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
So we'll just finish up on the quarterbacks here. As you went through the weekend, talking to analysts and talking to people, a lot of quarterbacks went. I think I don't know if I read. There's this no middle class in the NFL anymore. That there was all the quarterbacks taken in the first round, and then Rattler was the next kid in the fourth round. What do you? Anyone change their mind about May, or where people pretty confident about the pick? Where do people stand on it?
He's interesting. I mean, so in a lot of these guys, Fred, there's going to be differences of opinions, right? Like some people really liked him, and I think that's why you had teams talking to the Patriots about trying to trade up there. They would have taken him right there at 3. Talk about teams like the Giants and the Vikings. And then there were other teams that didn't have him rated as highly, and that's a draft. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't read too much into that. What I heard consistently was he was the cleanest of the top guys in terms of like the off-field intangibles, sort of what we talked about at the start of the conversation here. And that one person from a team told me that if I was making a big investment at that point in the draft at that position, he would be the one I felt the safest about taking at that spot.
And by the way, if the Bills and Vikings are trying to trade up for him, that seems good.
You got to look at the offensive minds behind
O'Connell
those.
and Dayball. I mean, I like that those two guys liked May. I mean, if they would have traded out of that pick to one of those two teams, I would have been like, well, what do they know that we don't know? Like these are not. This isn't the Raiders, This isn't Mark Davis or the Cowboys. This would have intrigued me.
I feel the same way, Fred. Those are two of the best quarterback, coaches in the league based on their history, and especially the one with Dayball with the Giants because of what he did with Josh Allen in Buffalo. And if you're a Patriots follower and you're hoping for the ceiling for Drake May, it's that type of quarterback. Josh Allen, big, 6'4", 223, can move pretty well, and has got the big arm.
And you should hear these, like the real old guys, that talk about football. You should, he compared himself to Josh Allen. Well, first of all, that's not fair. He was sort of asked about it. It's not like he was running around saying, I'm the next Josh Allen, which is Belichick kind of made it sound that way, too, on the McAfee thing. These old guys, and it's like, oh, no, Josh, why couldn't he be Josh Allen? Josh Allen's not the greatest quarterback that ever played. It's not like saying, oh, he's going to be Mahomes or he's going to be Brady. You're saying, Josh Allen's not an unrealistic expectation. Not maybe an expectation, but it's not if I'm Drake May, I'm not thinking there's no way I could be as good as Josh Allen. That's crazy. Josh Allen hasn't won anything. Josh Allen's a very good quarterback. Josh Allen's a great quarterback. But that's so unrealistic. Come on.
I know, and Fred, I thought that was a little one. I wish they challenged Bill on that a little bit on that.
Wrong
set.
show.
Have you watched the Pat McAfee show?
I do have to say though, I finally saw a clip that gave me, I guess, some hope that if he continues to do this, he will be able to bring something to the table. Telling the trade for Randy Moss story. I don't know if you saw that one, Mike.
I did.
Okay, so that was one where I'm like, okay, he's actually telling a story. Now, you can't get away with story time when you're doing game day at a desk and you've got, 20, 30 seconds to talk. You have to say something. But, talking to Al Davis about getting Randy Moss here on the track, okay, that was a good story.
But I interrupted you, Mike. Why you wish they would have pushed back the McAfee show?
Yeah, so on the Josh Allen, when Belichick mentioned that, I mean, when Josh Allen was coming out of Wyoming, he was a 56% passer. And the first couple years he was with the Bills, I mean, I don't believe Bill Belichick viewed Josh Allen the same way he does now.
Oh, sure.
And I think that's what I would have loved to seen them push back on him a little bit there. Because the way I thought he mentioned that was, he he says he, compares himself to Josh Allen. We'll see about that. And I'm like, well, obviously he's not going to be what Josh Allen is now. Like, the whole point is how you develop him, which is what we're talking about, right? Like, they did a masterful job developing Josh Allen, and now that's the challenge for the Patriots with Drake.
And I think it's that one thing we've talked about it before, Mike. It is the biggest unknown about this upcoming season, the one that doesn't get talked about enough. Coaching. We got all new coaching to deal with here, and it's who's gonna take over, who's gonna be his guy, who's gonna be Drake May's guy, and that's gonna have as much to do with this as anything else.
Huge. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. And just finally on this, it's again, like, completely unfair. It's not like Drake May's like some egotistical prick that was running around calling himself Josh Allen. Like, I mean, it came up. All right. I've defined myself defending this kid. Very rare territory for me with the Patriots.
I think you've been defending the Patriots for the last month. That's got to hurt.
He's really more of a Drake May guy.
I'm just a huge fan. I've watched him play every Saturday. I couldn't get enough of him. I saw him every snap.
You love free agency. You love the top pick in the draft. This is brutal for you.
I know so much about all these guys. I do know Joe Mixon, and he ain't going to play quarterback in the NFL. That I can tell you. But all right, thank you, Mike. Let's keep you on if you would.
Absolutely.
He had some good intel, Mike did, about one of the other picks in the draft and some of the plans that the Patriots had. It's very interesting stuff. We'll let him tell you about it in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. Mike Reiss is the ESPN NFL Nation reporter covering the Patriots. Of course, you know him. He's been around for a very long time. Mike Reiss covered the draft. We went over the two quarterbacks taken. Now, Mike, you're reporting in ESPN. Fantastic. You have the Patriots were trying to make a trade back into the first round, according to your reporting. Can you give us some intel on that?
Absolutely. So, Fred, Thursday night before the draft started, to just take you down to Gillette Stadium. I don't know how much you guys talked about it late last week, but they had this draft party. The Patriots did 1,900 tickets sold. The place was absolutely buzzing. You know, the line to get in was snaking all the way, like the setup down there. And I'm like to the movie theater to get into the stadium. So there's this great energy there. And Gerard Mayo addresses the crowd before the draft, says, we're going to get a great player at 3 and stick around because we could always sneak back into the first round. And I'm thinking to myself, like, really? Like he just served that up to everyone. And so I start with that because they actually did try, based on what I understand. And so it's the end of the first round. The Bills had traded down to pick 32, and I was told the Patriots had an offer, to get it back into 32, and the Bills ended up taking an offer from the Panthers instead. And I think the intel there, Fred, is partially like if you're the Bills, you'd probably rather deal with a team outside your division. And the Bills and Panthers have a connection. The Panthers' new general manager, Dan Morgan, has a long-time connection with Brandon Beane, the Bills' general manager. So that those were two factors working against the Patriots trying to get back into that 32 pick.
Okay, do you know who they might have been targeting there?
Why would they have done that?
That's so this is more like deduction than knowing for sure. I don't know the answer, but if the information is accurate, which I 100% believe it is, Xavier Legette, the receiver from South Carolina, went at 32, and then Keon Coleman, the receiver from Florida State, went at 33, and then the Patriots were picking at 34, and they traded back. And so my thought would be, if you're at 34 and you traded back, whoever you were going up for just went off the board.
Sure.
So, so I don't know. I mean, that would be the way I would piece it together. And that's, I would say, guys, like, that's very normal for the draft. Like, try to go up for someone, can't always get the trade, so you move to the next guy on your board.
All right. So they end up with Jalen Polk, the receiver from Washington. I've heard him described a lot of different ways. Number one, that he's not going to be a number one, but also a lot of people immediately following up by saying, like, oh, he's a lot of fun. He's good after the catch. He's got good hands. Not expecting him to be a number one in this or any other offense, but how much fun do you think he's going to be? How much impact will he have?
So I think on him, Hardy, why he was rated, I would say, a little differently depending on the team, because there maybe wasn't the speed factor was the biggest thing. I think when people say he won't be a number one, I think it's because he ran a 4.52 in the 40, and he, when you think about a number one receiver, you're looking for a standout physical trait or size that screams number one. And he doesn't have it, but what he does have is he's just like a really good player, and very physical, contested catches. So I think, and Field Yates, who to me, and one of my best friends at ESPN, just like a star on ABC during the draft, loves the kid. And so I can't sit here and tell you, like, I'm watching all these prospects and can evaluate them. But when someone like Field says he's one of my favorite players in the draft, I pass it along because that opinion means, I put a lot of credibility in that.
Patriots took care of a need with a drafting of a wide receiver. They got their quarterback, but I think the biggest problem as you look at the roster now, Mike, is left tackle. They sort of addressed it, but not really, and you went over it in your notes section.
So, John, we got Caden Wallace of Penn State at pick 68, and he played all right tackle. And full disclosure, when I was going through the draft before and trying to identify tackles that I thought fit the Patriots, I would have put him on there if he had played left tackle, and I didn't because of that. So I can't now say, this. You know what I mean? I thought this would have happened.
You didn't have him identified as a left tackle because he's not a left tackle?
Because he played every snap at right tackle, is what
exactly.
you're saying. Yes.
But their view is that he would have played there if Penn State didn't have Olu Fashanu, a first-round pick, who was at left tackle. So we have to so we have to see if they're right. So they'll try Caden Wallace there. They signed Chuk Okorafor, the veteran free agent from the Steelers, who, same situation, was more of a right tackle. I'm with you guys. We have a piece up at ESPN now where every reporter picks the biggest question that remains from the team they cover, and mine was, what's up at left tackle? And I wonder if they would even consider Micah Wenu out there. But I guess that wouldn't be out of the question if they get in a pinch. I don't think that's their intention right now, but something to maybe keep an eye on if it doesn't unfold the way they hope.
Is Juju Smith-Schuster gone? Is this Jalen Polk? Is Juju gone, do you think?
Well, let's go through it, Fred. I mean, I would think we talked earlier about the draft picks. The two rookies are going to be on there. So that's two receivers. Mm-hmm. You got Pop Douglas would be 3. You got KJ Osborne, who they signed in free agency, who I hear good things about, would be 4. And then I think you put Juju in the category with Tyquan Thornton. And I'm going to put Kendrick Bourne, obviously, in the other category, but with his injury, maybe gives a little bit of an unknown. To me, that Juju, Tyquan, those guys would be fighting for a spot, right? And so nothing given there.
Yeah, and this Jalen Polk is not there aren't the question marks that there were with Tyquan Thornton. Like, Tyquan Thornton was like a blazer with no size, and it was a bit of a gamble. And then you saw a million receivers go after him. This Jalen Polk, people aren't concerned. Like, he
weighs over 200 pounds.
Well, there also isn't a concern that there isn't as much of a concern as bust potential, I would imagine.
Well, so I wouldn't want to say bust potential, Fred, but I will tell you, like, I talked to a team that didn't have him rated as highly. And that's, again, this is normal. Not everyone is going to have the same rating on every player. The concern that this team had was just like a little stiff in his route running and didn't consistently separate. And because of that, they say, we'll push him down a little bit. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player or that he can't develop that and, in the NFL. So I don't know. I guess I would look at that. I wouldn't say it's much different from Tyquan in that sense, because last year I remember talking to teams that thought, wow, we had Tyquan rated lower, but others liked him with the speed and thought he could develop. Maybe wouldn't have traded up for him in the second round, but didn't think it was too far off the target.
Overall, looking at this draft, it seems to me a radical departure of what we've been used to from Bill Belichick, who would go wildly off the board at any time, drafting kickers and punters. It just seemed like for his first time, Elliott Wolf chose to just stay put and not go for the home run, just consistently hit singles from top to bottom.
John, I think it's such a good point. And I was thinking about that when the punter from Iowa went off the board. I was like, I'm living in a different world now. I don't think I have to worry about a special teams player getting drafted here. And there was one trade, right? We used to have so many more trades. So I think it was reflective of the new regime and that they went into this draft with a decisive plan. Like, we are deficient on offense. We're going to use 7 of our 8 picks on offense. Will it work out? We'll see. But I think from a big picture standpoint, the idea that they had a plan and they followed through with it, I think that that to me stood out as sort of, okay, this is the way this new regime is going to go about it.
And just to circle back, because you did talk to people from other teams and things, what was the intel you got on Joe Milton? I'm just curious.
So, well, this is actually, so Fred, when he got picked, I got one text from someone with like all capitals with exclamation marks and like as if to say like, your team just picked Joe Milton. Like it was like a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think too many people saw it coming, but that was really the only intel on it.
Okay.
At that point in the draft.
Okay. I understand. It's not the third pick in the draft.
Mike,
I'm just curious to hear what people have to say about him.
Fred, it's interesting. I mean, so just like to peel back the curtain a little bit, when they picked him, you know, ESPN doesn't ask me to write a story on every pick, you know, for like a big story, but on this one they did.
Yeah.
And if you went on our website, it was, you know, that was one of the main stories. So I think to your point, Fred, like this was one that caught the attention of more than just New England. Like, oh, what are they doing up there?
Well, two reasons. One, obviously his arm, and two, I mean, he was a prize recruit for two huge programs. He was a prize recruit for Michigan that didn't pan out, and then he was a prize transfer to Tennessee, and you know, he played a year there at 23. So there you have it. All right, Mike Reiss, awesome, great job, fantastic, everything you need to know. Go no further than ESPN.com. Mike's got it all up there. It's all good stuff. He breaks down every pick, and he has some intel in terms of what the Patriots tried to do during the draft. Mike, awesome job. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks, guys. Love being with you.
All right. Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, I just love to hear what people have to say about him. I just would like to hear anyone go, like, I don't think it's a bad, well, I don't care what they did in the 6th round. I don't, and if you shouldn't either, no one should care.
Right.
But I just think I want to hear anyone say anything like, oh, yeah, I think he'll be good.
He seems to think that Milton has a chance to stick.
Okay, maybe. Okay.
But I also
you better hope he doesn't play.
No, but I also understand what he's saying. Anything beyond the 4th round is fair game to be cut.
It must have been like the NFL Network or something that I was watching. I actually, sadly, was watching when Joe Milton was picked. It's just sad because, like, I was watching at home. And, again, there was a woman. It might have been in the car even, but there was a woman on the broadcast. And it was, for whatever reason, they were applauding everything that was going on. Everything was the greatest. And when they took Joe Milton, this guy goes like, I love it. And then the woman goes like, yeah, like this is a great guy for your practice squad. Like, you know, if you're playing someone with a big arm. So they were saying they loved it while saying, you know, his ceiling's the practice squad. And like, you know, and no one would take him off. Like, you know, like you can't just stick on the practice squad all year. Like people can poach you.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
I don't think there's any danger of that.
No.
From what you're telling me, because obviously you know way more about this guy than I do, I think if you stick him on your practice squad, there's no danger of another team going, yep, we're going to sign him to our main roster.
I just they were so excited in Tennessee when they got him because they're like, you should see this kid. And he was going to beat out that Hooker kid because that Hooker, ended up being a really good quarterback and ended up being taken by the Lions in the 3rd round, even though he was hurt. He probably would have been a higher pick if he hadn't gotten hurt. But Hooker's not like this big, huge physical talent. Like Hooker is more, he's just like really good at playing quarterback.
This kid is huge.
And so Milton came in and they were like, oh, this kid, you should see this kid. Oh, the arm on this kid. Oh, he throwed it. And then by the end, this stupid son of a bitch can't, so why can't he slow it down? And watch his highlights, like even the bombs he throws, he does it effortlessly.
Yeah.
But like they're a good 2-3 yards like off target.
Yeah.
Like everything he does like isn't so great. Like believe me.
Everyone saw everyone saw his pro day. Everyone saw the video of the combine where he throws the ball as far as he can and turns his back to it with his hand in the air. Like, yep, I just did that.
Yeah,
That's 80 yards in the air. I did that.
I mean, again, there's guys. I got. You know what? Let's do the break after this because it kind of relates to Joe Milton, but it's not necessarily a football thing. It's something. I wonder. This has been bugging me for a couple years. And I'm wondering if anything like this has ever happened to you. It kind of revolves around Joe Milton. I'm just going to put it on the air. I'm going to put it to you guys. Here are the headlines.
Okay.
Sports Hub.
last night off.
exactly how it should sound. Weird Toucher and Hardy. Russ emails. He says, for Joe Milton, isn't that bad? For a 6th-round pick, I love it. You have to admit this draft was far better than selecting a kicker in the 4th round or D2 guard in the 1st round. You can teach a player how to play QB, but you can't teach size and arm strength. He also has played against SEC defenses. Sure, you're wrong. But here's the deal, is that so Joe Milton, has these, like, can throw the ball really hard. I'm telling you, he didn't play well against SEC defenses, and he with all his physical skills, he couldn't play at Michigan, and he could only play 1 year at Tennessee, and he's 24. He's not 21. He's not. I don't care that they took him. And I'm not saying I don't care. Like, I'm so above the draft. I love the draft. If I was a fan, I wouldn't care that they took him in the 6th round, because who cares? And you're right. Like, if they took a punter, this is more interesting than a punter. But a punter might play. I'm telling you, Joe Milton is you have to understand that Drake May was taken, even worse, Josh Allen was taken entirely on physical ability. He had played at a nothing school and had not played particularly well his last season, but he was taken anyway because of his physical skills. He was taken in the 1st round. Joe Milton played in the SEC for a big, huge program. Everyone's known about him for 6 years and was taken in the 6th round. There's a reason. So anyway, here's the deal. This is what I was getting to. So have you ever, this Joe Milton thing reminds me. So I went to Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida. It's a D3 school, but it's D2, I believe, in baseball. But the baseball program has guys go to the major leagues. Not a ton, but they do. For a small school, it's like a really good program. And every year pro scouts would come and the college kids would try out for them. They would come to Rollins for like a workout. Like, they would work out the team. That's how good the team was. So the seniors or whatever would go out there and play. So there was this guy, Mike Hernandez, I won't forget, and he was a catcher. He was a 5th-year catcher. And the story was that he knew he was never going to make the professional baseball as a catcher. So he went and pitched, and he was going as a pitcher, and he threw in the mid-90s, but the scouts didn't like the way he threw, so he didn't make a team. So fast forward 25 years later, I'm going to a Red Sox game, and I'm acquaintances with the guy who played professional baseball. He wasn't a major leaguer, he played professional baseball. And I'm relating this story to him. And I've told it probably 50 times in my life. This guy Hernandez, catcher, went to try out through mid-90s, and the guy looks at me and he's like, huh. Because I would think that any team would take a chance just on a kid that could throw 95. And then I, like, insinuating I was lying about Mike Hernandez. And then it got me thinking, like, he thinks I'm lying. To my knowledge, I'm not lying. But was I told a lie that I've been repeating for 25 years as fact, making me the liar?
Yeah.
Has that ever happened in your? And I think about it like a lot. Like, I think about it way more often than I should. Like, I think about it because, like, the way he looked at me, like we didn't really know each other that well. He wasn't like a dick about it, but it was just kind of like, like, I don't want to be with you as much anymore now as I did before you told this tale. Like, and I don't know why I was telling it. I don't know why. Like, what the point of it was. It was obviously maybe to impress him with my baseball background. But then it all fell apart under my feet. Have you ever, like, do you think in your life you've been repeating a lie that you don't know is a lie? Maybe you've been told a lie, but you've just been repeating this lie for your whole life. And then people behind your back even are going like, look at this jackass lying to us like this.
Okay. So this is difficult because other people would have to know you're lying in order for it to really trouble you.
But if you really want to feel bad, maybe you just don't know they think you're lying, and everyone behind your back is going like, dude, Hardy's telling these effing lies. Like, he keeps telling this lie.
Okay. Well, I have something close, and I didn't find out about it until a couple summers ago. All my life, I had been told that a great uncle of mine was at D-Day, Normandy. He was a cliff climber, right? Saving Private Ryan, the scene. And that was the story I was told growing up. And, the story of his life and, the fact that he served in World War II and he came home and was a Detroit cop for 30 years afterward, makes him no less of a hero and a man's man and someone that I, looked up to and respected and is completely worthy of, my gratitude as, both a family member and as an American friend. I was telling the story of my uncle being a cliff climber at Normandy. Not to the wrong guy, but maybe to the one guy who really knew all about it because he was like an historian of these things and had also served. And this was at a picnic a couple of years ago, and he asked me some details. Really, well, how did he serve? What unit? What? I'm like, I don't know, but all I know is that cliff climber, Normandy, 80% of his unit wiped out. And I asked my mother after this, I said, you got to tell me more about, Uncle Stan, because I'm really proud of this fact that it's part of our family history. She said, well, he was a cook. I said, what?
Because Stan's his dad.
Oh, boy.
Well, I don't know that he actually left the ship until the beachhead was secured. What? I thought 80% of his unit was, well, they were. The ones that actually went on the beach, many of them tragically perished that day and in the following days. But the ones who did survive needed to eat. So once they were all safe and they had the tents and the blankets spread out, then your uncle went up onto the beach and made sure that they had food. I'm like, no. No, it's not stolen valor. It's not a lie to that degree.
No.
Oh my
stolen
God.
valor is if you said you're the guy. But
I have Fred. Do you know how many people I've told about my uncle, the cliff climber at Normandy?
Here's a good rule of thumb with military service. If you're somehow related to someone that served in the military, heap upon them the goodwill and praise that is. I mean, because we often forget, like, these guys, did their job, and they sacrificed, and it's often taken for granted.
And believe me, that even doing what he did is
right. Okay, we're already doing too much.
All right,
you've done enough. That's right. He's like Sarge, stolen valor. Here's a good thing, though. When people go like, my uncle was in the military or my grandpa was in the military, so was everyone else's.
Yeah.
Like, there was a draft, guys. Like, everyone's relatives were in the war. Now, D-Day cliff climber is, like J.D. Salinger was a part of, in World War II, I can't remember, when in those hedgerows, the real bad one. Not D-Day, but another real bad one. I can't remember which one J.D. Salinger was in, but it like tortured him. It's why he did Slaughterhouse 5. He was a prisoner of war in the slaughterhouse, an old slaughterhouse.
Battle of the Bulge.
He was in Battle of the Bulge. And so, but here's the thing, is we've run commercials on this very station, and I'm not talking about the Bertrand one. I'm talking about another one. There's someone I know that had a relative in Nam. And that's the relative in Nam should be praised that you did it. It's like John McCain was like a prisoner of war. It's a terrible thing. You survived something terrible for the good of the country. It shows character and it shows a lot of things. But you being related to him shows nothing. And like, it's not a novel thing. Like, first of all, it's your relative. It's
from
not
our
you.
Certainly from our generation, when our grandparents and a lot of
like
our parents,
all our grandparents and granduncles and stuff were in the war.
Yeah,
like they all were. It's not novel. And it also isn't you. Like, it's you are not somehow special because someone that you were related to was in the war. They're the ones that made the sacrifice. You are just sperm that through the nature of being has been produced in some lineage of this. But yeah, I'll hear things like Like, if you weren't in it, then I don't want to hear it.
Are you saying twice removed from the greatest generation is not a bragging point?
No, because it's the greatest generation, because every one of us that's here has a relative that at least was in the Great Depression. I mean, like, unless you're just like fresh off the boat, and then if you were in Europe or Africa or wherever you were in the 40s, I'm sure there was some war going on there too. I mean, you think about it, like if you were in Britain, like all those guys in Britain in the 40s, like they were just getting bombed. Like pajamas are pajamas because those dudes had to keep leaving the house so much in the middle of the night because of bomb raids that they started dressing like other people would see them. Like that's, I think, why there's two-piece pajamas is that people were leaving because of bomb threats. So like even like dudes in the Who, like Roger Daltrey, like went home, I think, from school one day and his house was gone. Like, you know, like they all played in the ruins of their towns. Like a lot of bad stuff happened back then. Like it's a good rule of thumb. Your relative's the good guy. You're not the good guy. Like you don't get any credit for that. And they're probably BSing you. I'm telling you, I read that book, The Night of the Gun, which is a guy going back to his own life, and he forgets getting arrested. He doesn't remember. Like, people remember stories in their own way, and then just all of us do. And it's not a default or some character defect. We all remember stories and tell them and shape them until there's very little reality to them. And the older the story that someone's telling you, the less truth there is to it. Most likely. There's a lot of things being left out, and not even deliberately. It's the nature of our memories. And that's why historians got to go and they got to check records and talk to like everyone that was still alive that was there. And why it's important to do, because once those people are gone and once the records are gone, it's the grandson telling you that their dad, who was peeling potatoes, was out there killing guys with his bare hands.
Nick on Twitter said, I had a buddy that told me he opened up for a band at the Pontiac Silverdome, and for years I believed him.
See, that's a lie that was straight from his mouth, saying that he did it, which was a lie. That's Pete Bisson. He said that we said, why did you not go to band practice? Why did you not come to band practice? He goes, I was busy rocking the dome. Mm-hmm. And he said, rocking the dome. And we said, what do you mean? And he goes, the Pontiac Silverdome? And we said, what? He goes, oh, no, I'm in another band. And the band I'm in opened up for whatever band at the Silverdome. And I don't know if that band was even playing the Silverdome. But he was lying. And we all just went, wow. Wow. You are not of the intellect of most kids at our school.
How old?
High school. 16. He was a year younger, maybe 15. Oh, no. Like, we were all lying a lot.
Everybody had that, like, one or two kids in their high school would just, like, pathologically lie about stuff. That David Lavallee at my high school would tell us that he missed school because he was playing golf on a mini tour in Florida. I'm like, you're what? He's like, yeah, I'm on the Suncoast tour. I was down there playing golf.
Yeah, meanwhile, he had a fever. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
handle, and you can watch us every morning on YouTube. Peter, go ahead.
Hey, Fred. Not that I expect you to be a literary expert or anything, but I do expect you to have watched Back to School multiple times and to notice his cameo appearance, and that's Kurt Vonnegut. He actually wrote Slaughterhouse-5, not J.D. Salinger.
You know,
I think
here's the deal. I'm so smart that I've watched a Salinger and a Vonnegut documentary recently. They both served in World War II. And then I got cooking on Salinger, being in the Battle of the Bulge, and then started thinking, and then I went to Vonnegut. So it's my own intelligence and my own passion for learning, Peter, that got in my way.
Yeah, your feet got out from under you. I get it.
Yeah. It was. I slipped up a little
But
bit.
Peter,
Thank you,
will you also grant Fred a little bit of leeway, because I do not believe Slaughterhouse-5 is referenced in Back to School. He makes his cameo, and by the way,
it's the only thing he's known for.
Okay, but they don't
Hocus
mention
Pocus.
they don't
Breakfast of Champions.
They don't mention
Peter. You're giving me an opening to flex my literary muscle.
And they don't mention the book in Thornton Mellon's scenes with Vonnegut or with the teacher. So I think
That's true. But Fred, let me push back. I don't think you actually read Breakfast Champion or whatever. I think you probably picked that up in the documentary.
I've read 2 or 3 of his books, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you.
All right. Anyway, I'm not expecting you to be an expert, but
It's it's a little sci-fi for me, you know. Daddy likes his writing from the hip.
Yeah, and my knowledge of Slaughterhouse-5 comes solely from Footloose, as it is one of the books that they want banned at the library there. And Ren McCormick comes to town. He's sitting out on the porch. His first day in town, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a great book." And, you know, the parents, they just don't know. Squares, they just don't like it because of the title. Isn't that a terrible title, they say?
Isn't it interesting, though, that they banned that book, and it's a guy that served in World War II writing about, essentially, his time as a prisoner of war.
Well,
he came out of that slaughter, the war camp in Dresden had been completely leveled. And he came out. Can you imagine that? So you go, he said he's from Indianapolis. This is so nerdy, but he was from Indianapolis. So he says, and I did watch a documentary, and I realized I'm making a big deal about that. But this is interesting. So he's like, the only city he's really ever seen is Indianapolis, like big city. So he goes to Dresden. He goes, it's like the most beautiful city I've ever seen. They put us in this prison camp underground. They come out after it's been bombed because like they just figure, all right, we'll leave. They come out and the whole city's gone. Weird. But isn't that weird that they would tell you, don't listen to him? What does he know?
Right.
We're Americans. But he's the guy that was in the war, that was in the battles.
He was there.
He was there. All right. You know who was there? The Boston Bruins. Oh, yeah. Home run, Fred.
Nice.
Over the weekend, they take a commanding 3-1 lead. Not commanding enough for any Bruins fan to get feeling good about themselves, because this team has screwed a lot of stuff up in their
Last
history.
year, up 3-1.
Oh, boy. I didn't even remember that.
Yep.
I just thought the Philadelphia series where they were up
Last
3
year,
games to none.
Against Florida, up 3-1.
So let's not everyone get crazy. But I, for some reason, was listening to some hockey station that happened to be simulcasting the Toronto Sports Talk Radio. And believe it or not, they're not happy. Is it Amali Benjamin? Does she write now about does she write now about the Bruins for NHL.com? Yeah, she does.
Okay.
So she wrote some article that she had an exclusive that Marchand was out to dinner with the team in Toronto. Nice restaurant, I'm told. Upwards of $10,000 if the whole team went. And that he stood up during the dinner and told them what everyone had to do individually in this series, that he was now feel comfortable as a captain, that he's taking a leadership role, and that happened in between games 3 and 4. But it's bedlam in Toronto. They are stuck with what they have. They have a lot of money going to some guys that are not performing. And there's talk of, why Matthews is sick, what's really wrong with them. what real injuries were going on with guys that have missed games. I don't know what you got, Hardy. You lead the way.
Let's go with TSM post game, where they kind of get down and dirty with what's going on with their Maple Leafs.
You're in the building. You were there. What would you say went so wrong tonight?
Well, I would say pretty much everything from a Maple Leaf standpoint, Sarah. This was truly one of the worst performances and I think worst losses in modern Maple Leaf history.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay.
I mean, there's been a lot of losing over the last 20 years.
There's been no winning.
It's impressive.
Yeah, there's just been no 20 years. When was the last time they won a cup?
Oh, no,
1960?
I was just talking about winning a playoff series.
Last year, yeah.
One in 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, this is a very futile organization that's very, very popular.
And at the end of the day, it's the same thing that's been plaguing this team really for years, but certainly throughout the regular season and into the playoffs. Their special teams has been a disaster. And the Maple Leafs power play is completely non-existent. It's actually sucking the life out of this building. This team can't score. They can't kill penalties. Their best players have been nowhere close to as good as they should be. And they're down 3-1 because they deserve to be. And the Leafs look incredibly deflated. And this is the 6th straight playoff loss at home. 6 consecutive losses at home in the playoffs. That's an embarrassing statistic. That's an indictment on this team.
It's like the Celtics.
Keep in mind, and by the way, 1967 was the last time they won a cup. They have 4 players, Nylander, Marner, Tavares, and Matthews, all scheduled to make $10.9 million or more.
Well,
next
Nylander
season.
missed the first few games with an injury, and they never announced what it was, so speculation's running wild about that. What is the rumor?
It's a migraine. That's the rumor.
So obviously that's what the guy was alluding to.
Yes.
And he just didn't want to say it. So
no one can pin the team down. No one's really sure.
Yeah, exactly.
A migraine is about.
It might be in their best interest if it wasn't a migraine to maybe leak what the injury was.
Yeah.
Because this is a league where the Forsberg for Colorado lost a spleen during a game and played. Like they punctured his spleen. It had to be removed, and he played through the game. This is a sport where Patrice Bergeron had not only played with cracked ribs, which I guess you could just shoot them full of as much opiates as possible and say, "Can you still play?" But then had a punctured lung,
2013,
and was playing.
Yep.
So I mean, you have a migraine. I understand those can be debilitating, but I mean, in the world of
got to get on the ice.
In the world of like smashed, I mean, I understand migraines can be completely debilitating. You can get vertigo and stuff. If you get migraines, my heart goes out to you. But I mean, this is and I can understand not even being able to play with one. It just doesn't sound good, unfairly or not. It just doesn't sound good. So this guy, Mitch Marner's got to go.
Okay, so they're chirping at each other on the bench.
Okay, so they're saying Marner's gone, like that he's gone, that they got to find a way to get rid of him.
Well, the problem is he's like everyone else at the top of that lineup. They all have no movement clauses.
Yes,
and he's scheduled to make over $10 million next year.
The belief was the guy was saying I swear to God, I'm not just saying this because you just said it. He said, I know they all got no movement clauses, but they'll find a way. Marner's got to go. Like that for his own pride that he would have to leave the team. So, all right. So what happened on the bench on Saturday? If you're unaware of this because the Bruins won and we're not breaking this down like there's a Bruder film, there was some drama around the game.
There's no audio of it, but Marner is obviously upset about something that's happening on the ice, and he's on the bench. He's complaining about it, and somebody did the lip reading, but once you know what the lip reading transcript is, it's quite obvious that Nylander says to him, "Stop effing crying, bro. This isn't junior hockey." And at that point, Marner takes his gloves off and throws them behind him on the bench. Paul Bissonnette, after the fact, had something to say about it.
Well, there's a guy on the other side making 11 shoots. Do you want to roll the tape?
Yeah, should we talk about this? Because you're talking about Mitch Marner.
Yeah, guys, this is just pathetic. He hasn't won a battle all series long. This is after a one face-off, just gives it up. And we're not even going to roll the clip any further because that's when they end up taking their penalty. He's not bending his knees. No real true battle in front. Yeah, he takes a little bit of a whack, looks at the referee, so disengaged. And then this is even later on. Like, this is just in the middle of the neutral zone. He just is not playing any type of good hockey. He's losing every puck battle.
And then Mitch Marner himself was asked about it. because obviously now it's a thing. You had a close-up on the bench. You see what's going on. So here's what he had to say about teammates yelling at each other.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any. We're grown men. We're talking about plays out there that we just want to make sure we're all 100% on and know what we're doing. Just a little bit off page there, and we're not yelling at each other because we hate each other. We just want to all be on the same page to help each other out.
Yeah.
Okay. Sheldon Keefe, the coach of the Maple
very
Leafs.
constructive. Yes.
Sheldon Keefe, the coach of the Maple Leafs, said it was a great thing.
Yeah.
And he said it was really good. That it showed that they had some passion.
They care.
Oh, and another thing is, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Austin Matthews has been ill, and they're questioning what that is, that if he's really sick. So it's like chaos. In fact, I don't want you to not listen to our station, but if you find yourself in some place where you can't get it, Toronto's pretty funny right now because you can only imagine. It would be like, I got to imagine what it was like before the Red Sox won anything. It's got to be like,
That's actually a very good comparison.
Yeah,
that's what it was like before they won.
It's got to be like the 86 Red Sox. I mean, people just got to be, people had to be all kinds of theories. And there's so much there. Like, Nylander's not really hurt. Matthews isn't really sick. Marner is just is coasting into retirement. Like, there's all this talk about this team. They're going to fire the coach. Like, all this stuff is going to happen. It's crazy.
By the way, the Hockey News tried to put like a positive spin on it too. Not only saying that it shows emotion, but they said, look, earlier this season, Vander Kane, Leon Draisaitl, they had an interaction like this, and it actually helped them and heightened emotions. And this, again, from the Hockey News, this was on Saturday. This was published. It's actually a good thing when teams' leaders show this level of emotion. It shows they care and they want to win. Both things should be a comfort to Maple Leafs fans tonight.
Look, the Bruins haven't won anything yet, and they've got a history of blowing these leads in the playoffs, so let's not get all ahead of ourselves. By the way, I was just told, who was it, Dan? Nylander. Guess when he's a free agent?
Oh, they just signed him to a massive contract extension.
Just guess, Hardy. Guess how many years until he's able to.
I actually had a hockey contract of 7.
8 years.
Oh.
Yeah, 8 years. He'll be a free agent.
By the way, his extension kicks in next season.
Yeah, so 8 years. Yeah,
But
in 8 years he will be gone. It's not. I don't know. Yeah.
Matthews and Nylander have both just signed massive long-term contracts, so they're not going anywhere. And Tavares, who, by the way, is the supposed captain of this team, isn't doing a lot of leading at the moment. Mitch Marner.
How old is Tavares now?
33.
Jesus, these guys come in the league when they're like 15.
Yeah, we did the Stamkos exercise for a while
Well,
there.
Stamkos is fascinating because Stamkos seems to have been playing hockey. Like, he was on the same, he was playing against Yzerman and Prober. And he's 34.
Actually, yes. He just turned 34 in February.
Which is insane. He's been playing professional hockey for 32 years. He was out there as an infant. He's younger than Marchand, I've been told. Good. I'm getting all this good information from Dan O'Brien. He's younger than Marchand. I should just take it like Stern took Jackie's jokes. He never gave Jackie credit. He had to laugh very loud. Maybe when you give me a factoid, Dan, you just go, aha!
Have to turn the microphone on.
And then you go, aha!
Do that, yeah.
So everyone will know that you gave me the factoid.
I'm good back here.
All right. Very good. Jud Sirott is going to join us. He hasn't been on for a very long time.
Yep.
He's your voice of the radio. They do a good job. Him and Bob Beers. We will talk. We got to wait for Game 5. We can talk about goaltending and everything that's going on with the Maple Leafs in just a moment.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
we are. Kutcher and Hardy. The Bruins will play the Maple Leafs in Game 5 Tuesday night from the TD Garden. Jud Sirott will be calling the game here on 98.5 The Sports Hub, along with Bob Beers, the Sports Hub Radio Network. He joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Hello, Judd.
Morning, Fred. Morning, boys.
How you doing, Judd?
I'm good. How's everybody there?
Good. Excellent job this season. I'm often in the car during portions of the games, and you and Bob do a very good job. I wouldn't.
Thank you.
All right. Give us a feeling what it's like in Toronto right now. We just discussed a little of it. I was able to hear some Toronto radio for whatever reason the other morning. It's chaotic over there.
Well, the Knights are out, and they're certainly sharp, considering not only the fact that the Bruins are up 3-1 in the series, but how the series has gone. And obviously you saw everything bubble over on the Maple Leafs bench in Game 4. This game has so much meaning, and this series has so much meaning because you've got a guy in Sheldon Keefe who they actually just re-signed to a contract extension just before the season started. If for some reason the Bruins win this series, he's likely out. Now, the other thing that you have to think about at the top is there's a new guy running Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, a guy above Brandon Shanahan. So if for some reason the Maple Leafs get eliminated in the first round again by the Bruins, what does that mean for his future going forward? There's all sorts of pressure playing in that market. They like to fashion themselves as the center of the hockey universe. Well, it has intensified right now.
Yeah, looking at Toronto, and you wonder how they're able to, in that market, in that sport, just manage to not lose the will and the whatever support they have for that team over the years. I know last year that they got over a hump of sorts, but it's the national sport. It's the city where you have to be able to succeed. And we were just talking about it before you came on, Judd. The last cup was what, 67?
67.
So
yeah, they have the longest drought in the league.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to me, and to have them once again be staring at elimination at the hands of the Bruins. And let's face it, a player like Marchand, I don't know how they avoid wanting the fans, at least, just wanting to blow the whole thing up and let's start all over again.
I don't know. It's a really good question, I think, when it comes to the team, but I do think it's important to I don't know how much you've read, or I know, Freddie, you said you were listening to some of Toronto sports radio, is that basically year after year after year, the Leafs have essentially run back the same group the same way. I caught a little bit before I came on. You guys were talking about the Nylander extension and what they've done with Austin Matthews. They've kept the core four, as they like to call them, all together. So the question is, well, you're keeping these guys together, but you keep getting the same results. So maybe you have to change. Now, it's a new general manager there in Brad Treliving. So he inherited a lot of this stuff. But at the same time, he was the guy who signed Nylander to the big extension. He's the guy who signed Matthews to the extension. I think the question is, when you look at the Maple Leafs, especially the way there are regular season teams that are good, and then you have to translate that into the playoffs. The way that the Leafs are built is very different from a lot of other teams. And in the playoffs, what typically wins? Grittier hockey. Well, he tried to bring that in, but also defensive hockey, and that's not necessarily in their DNA. If you look at their back end, other than Morgan Riley, he's a really good player. Ilya Lyubushkin is a guy that they traded for late in the season. Joel Edmondson, a guy that they traded for late in the season. TJ Brody, who came in Game 4, had been a healthy scratch. Timothy Liljegren is a guy who's playing in your bottom pair. Simone Benoit was out there for anybody to sign during the offseason. That's not necessarily a decor that matches up in the same way with whether it's the Bruins or other teams around the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs.
All right, Judd, let's talk about your favorite subject, which is the Bruins goalie rotation.
Well, I before we do that, while we're on Toronto, just to keep it on the same page, what's Toronto going to do with their goaltending situation? They pulled Samsonov.
I would think it's going to be Joseph Woll. And Woll, his numbers, his goals against, his save percentage were better than Samsonov's during the regular season. His record was not. This was a guy who he experienced a high ankle sprain, Freddie, during the course of the season. And when he came back, he wasn't necessarily the same goaltender. But if you want to take it back maybe about a month or so, when the Bruins faced the Maple Leafs in back-to-back games around a week in early March, he was the guy, Joseph Woll, who was supposed to be the number one goaltender. He faced the Bruins twice. He lost to the Bruins twice. And then all of a sudden, the narrative up there changed, and Ilya Samsonov became the guy that they went with as the number one goaltender. But I would expect that he's going to be in net in Game 5.
Yeah, and when I say blow it up, obviously they keep extending players and they're keeping the core together. But if it's front office or the head coach, Judd, I think they've had seven. I think they've had 7 different head coaches over the last.
Yeah,
20
Judd
years.
said they're firing the head coach if they lose this. But the thing is that they got these guys got no trade clauses. But I'm telling you, they're like Marner's got to leave for his own pride and this, that, and the other. All right, but John brought it up. John, go ahead.
No, when are we going to see Linus Ullmark again? Will we see Linus Ullmark again? I don't think we should. I think I speak for everyone in the room and everyone listening. I don't think we should see Linus for a while.
Well, I think I can go out on a limb, and I'm expecting Jeremy Swayman to play in Game 5. So let's see how Game 5 goes, and then we can have this conversation again.
I know you love talking about it because no one asks you, correct?
Well, they may ask, but I don't really have any answers. Listen, Jeremy Swayman has been outstanding. But the Bruins as a group, as the series has gone on, they have been much harder to play against. And I think that was part of the reason that you saw all the frustration boil over for the Maple Leafs in Game 4. For 2 periods in particular, the Bruins were airtight in their game defensively. They created offensive zone time. They made the Leafs defend. They don't want to do that. They made it hard coming through the neutral zone. And then if the puck was in the D zone, they kept everything on the perimeter. Everything that makes it so hard for the Maple Leafs to score. That's their DNA. Get up, go, play fast. Second best offensive team in the league. They don't want to defend. They don't want to spend time in their own zone. But the Bruins have progressively gotten better during the series. Can they sustain that in Game 5? That's the hope.
So here's the thing with Swayman, and we talked about this last week when we're doing our own rotations. You say, let's see what happens after Game 5. Okay, if Swayman looks a little bit off, do you then say, all right, let's put Ullmark in there in another potential closeout Game 6 with what weights in the balance is? If he doesn't pull it off and he doesn't look bad, then it's an all bets are off Game 7 and you go back to Swayman. I think at this point, Judd, this is my long way of saying it, you've obviously chosen Swayman over Ullmark. Regardless of what happens in Game 5, you stick with Swayman from here on out. That's what I would do at this point.
I really don't know, Hardy. It's a really good question. I think that there were a lot of us who probably thought after Game 1, the way Jeremy Swayman played, oh, well, he's going to play Game 2. And that necessarily wasn't the case. And then the question was, and I think that that's the most intriguing thing heading into the series. The question wasn't who was going to start Game 1 for the Bruins. It's how they were going to manage things going forward. So it's hard for me to say who's going to start a potential Game 6 when I have to see what happens here in Game 5. The GM Don Sweeney had mentioned that performance is going to dictate a lot of what's going on. But
you can't put Ullmark
really
in net in Toronto in Game 6. I think that would be. I think that'd be crazy.
Hardy, I have no idea. I think the other thing that's a hard part about trying to answer some of these questions is I don't know exactly what's going into the process of picking a goalie night to night. I mean, we've kind of picked up bits and pieces. So all I know is I would expect Jeremy Swayman is going to start Game 5, and that's it.
Okay. All right. Good times.
Judd, obviously the Bruins lead 3-1. They're right back where they were last season. We remember what happened last season, but this feels a lot different than a year ago.
Well, I think Brad Marchand was quick to point that out. And he actually talked about that before the series started, that I think maybe last year the Bruins were getting themselves ready for a long run rather than concentrating on the moment at hand. And I think that he is laser focused, and he's going to try and get his team to be laser focused on Game 5. And Marchand in particular, I think, deserves even more credit than he's getting here in the series. Obviously, he's been terrific with 3 goals and 8 points. I had another broadcaster around the National Hockey League send me a note. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. When his career is done, he's going to have a Hall of Fame resume. But I think the job that he has done as the captain this year, considering the 9 players that the Bruins lost, the names that the Bruins lost, and he becomes the captain. He's been the beacon of that culture, and he's helped lead that team with his work ethic. Hopefully, again, that serves them well here in Game 5.
All right. Well, let's just hope they win Game 5.
Yeah.
Let's not screw around. Let's get another round of playoff hockey. This is enough.
That's right, Freddie. Let's go.
I'm serious. I don't like this. I don't look. I think they beat the Maple Leafs. Danny Roach and Jud Sirott all together doing their thing.
Yeah.
Worlds collide.
That's right. I don't listen. John reminded me this is the Florida situation, and they were up. I don't know why they did this. They were up 3-0 to the Flyers, and then we're up 3-1 in Game 7 and lost that series.
Why you bring that up?
Or 3-0 and 3-0 in.
They were
Game
up 3-0 in Game 7 and lost 4-3.
Yeah. I mean, and then remember that Carolina series?
They were up 3-1 and lost. Yep.
And then we had histories of the Bruins.
Oh, keep it going, Freddie. The Maple Leafs in 2013 forced to Game 7. The Maple Leafs in 2018 forced to Game 7. Just keep piling it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred.
It's not necessary.
Oh, I think it's absolutely necessary. I think it's a good way to set expectations.
It only happened a year ago.
Remember the old saying, those who do not remember the past are not bothered by it.
Or that's the old Sealand family. That's why I say defund the schools.
Right you are, sir.
I say, why even have history?
Yes.
All right, Jud Sirott, thank you so much for the time. Everyone listen to Judd and Bob as they call the game on Tuesday evening. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, Judd.
Thanks for having me, boys. Have a great day.
See ya.
I'm into it. I'm very into this. And if you read anything about the Toronto stuff as we've covered, it is pretty funny. They're like really losing their minds, which is something that Boston collectively as a fan base has done many, many times. This is, Patriots losing. It's worse because they're falling apart. But it's like when the Patriots lost the Super Bowl, the undefeated season. But that was more just like being mad at, I don't know, Patriots fans. I like Toronto fans. They're real fatalistic. They hate the team. Like, that's what I liked. What I didn't like about the Patriots fans at the time is like everything was someone else's fault. Like it was the commissioner's fault, or it was, what's his face never would have caught that ball in any other game. David Tyree never would have caught that ball in any other game. Like it's like God's fault. Like
That's how he felt at the time because Tyreek was cut and never made another NFL roster.
That's right, because no one has ever performed in that game. There's been MVPs of the Super Bowl that are terrible. So I just think there's quarterbacks that you never. I mean Jeff Hostetler rookie cards do you got lying around? I mean, there's plenty of Mark Rippons. There's plenty of dumbasses that have won Super Bowls. But that was the thing I didn't like. One of the things I didn't like about the Patriot fans during that run, it was everything was someone else's fault if something bad happened. It's like no, like in the whole Goodell stuff was annoying. This Maple Leafs fan base, good fan base, real angry, real pissed off at everyone, calling them all pussies for not playing and questioning their injuries. I like it. It's fun. I like it. I like them. Fatalistic. They're not the nice Canadian people that you would think.
No.
They're not Eugene Levy type folk.
Now watch those Maple Leafs fans up on the glass. I tell you,
What happened on the glass that got you all riled up?
Finger swears, Fred. Finger swears.
They were giving the middle finger?
Yes.
And that actually bothered you. Because you've mentioned this now a couple times. But it did. You're doing it in a sarcastic voice, but something about that did get to you.
There's something about watching hockey in Canada. Now Montreal, maybe not so much, but the other fans, you expect them to have like a bigger appreciation for it, and they're not just out losing their minds at a sporting event. This is, to them, this is like a nice night out on the town, and they take it seriously. And to see them behaving like hooligans. I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't like
drunk fans at a sporting event giving the finger. That's That's you don't like.
Now
that.
you get it.
That's right. It's terrible.
Thank you.
I'll tell you. I went to
Why it's so difficult for you to understand?
I went to a Toronto game in Florida against the Panthers, and I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be great. No one's gonna be here." I wasn't thinking. Of course, it was completely sold out. And it was
flooded with Maple Leaf fans.
And I guarantee you it was more chaotic than any Maple Leafs game in Toronto based on ticket prices, because you could just walk into that for basically for free. And it was like just singing songs. It was chaos. Now, I didn't care for it because it was a little too European for our North American brethren.
Sure.
They were pretending. All right. When we come back, the gang went out as a collective unit. Hardy got all dressed up. We were at the Revolution game. Hardy had the whole kit, it's called.
Yeah,
he had his whole kit on. We will get that for you in just a moment.
Sports Hub headlines.
Celtics off last night. They're in Miami tonight. They'll play Game 4 of their first-round playoff series with the Heat leading 2-1. Celtics are completely healthy for this one. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5, the Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier still out for the Heat. As for the Bruins, they're off tonight. They won't play until tomorrow evening. They'll face Toronto at TD Garden, leading that playoff series 3-1. Red Sox won last night. They got a walk-off pop-fly single by Tyler O'Neill in the bottom of the ninth for a 5-4 win over the Cubs. They have tonight off. They'll host San Francisco tomorrow night. Vaughn Grissom, the infielder the Sox got from Atlanta for Chris Sale, is expected to join the big club tomorrow after 4 hits at AAA yesterday. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by WellPoint, formerly Unicare. They've teamed with Charlie Coyle, Mass State and Local Police, the professional firefighters of Mass and Bruins Radio for face-offs for first responders. If you or a loved one are thinking about suicide, get free and confidential help 24/7 on the Lifeline Network. Just text or call 988-NOW. I'm John Wallach at Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9 o'clock.
Marchand back of the net. Shoots, he scores!
This is Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand.
Every Bruins game on 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Figuring out parking for TD Garden? With Spot Hero, it's already figured out. Visit SpotHero.com or download the free app. Search TD Garden, find your spot, and reserve. Get 10% off your first park with code GARDEN10. Official parking partner of TD Garden. Spot Hero. Where do you park?
It's time to take a step toward a more sustainable future. Eversource, a proud sponsor of Mass Save, is here to help. We offer programs and solutions that work for your business or building. Weatherization can lower energy costs all year round without impacting comfort or productivity. You can even get 70% or more off the cost of insulation. Sound interesting? Get started today with a no-cost, no-obligation energy assessment. Learn more at eversource.com.
Celebrating the Volkswagen 75th anniversary sales event is a big deal, but we're no strangers to those. When the Beetle came to America, it eventually got its own Beetle fandom. Well, that was a big deal. And when thousands of VW vans rolled up to the Woodstock Festival in the summer of '69, that was an even bigger deal. So when we say our 75th anniversary sales event is a big deal, we know what we're talking about. Drive away in a brand new Volkswagen today. Hop in. It's a VW.
What is insurance?
Insurance transfers certain risks between parties.
Without insurance, the economy would really stop.
In simple terms, insurance is like community.
It's protecting every last asset that somebody has built over a lifetime.
You're in it together. You feel supported.
From the beginning to the end.
What insurance is just taking care of people. It's definitely a way of life.
Cross Insurance. Our way of life since 1954.
Builders, remodelers, and homeowners do business with one of the largest, most reputable, 100% employee-owned lumberyards and home showrooms, Cape Cod Lumber and CCL Homescapes. We're your destination for Matthews Brothers Windows. Matthews Brothers Windows are made in Maine and made to stand up to all kinds of tough weather. Matthews Brothers Windows, wicked awesome windows. CCL, your 100% wicked awesome, employee-owned go-to independent lumberyard. Visit us online or come see us in person at CCL Homescapes. CCL Homescapes in Abington.
Hey Verizon customers, want the best in-home Wi-Fi? X marks the spot. It's never been a better time to switch. Get Xfinity Gig Speed Internet for the lowest price ever with unlimited data included. So you can stream, shop, chat, game, and work on all your devices all at the same time. Now through May 14th, new customers can get Xfinity Gig Internet for only $30 a month for 12 months with no annual contract when you add one line of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited. For savings more than $800 over Verizon in your first year, X marks the spot. Switch to fast, reliable Xfinity Internet and bring on the good stuff. Go to Xfinity.com today. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Compares promotional pricing for Xfinity Gig Internet and one Xfinity Mobile Unlimited line versus Verizon Fios Gig Internet and one Welcome Plan line. After promo, regular rates apply. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Actual speeds vary. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. Reduced speeds up to 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds may vary.
Hey, baseball fans, go yard with BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. All season long, we're offering top odds on your favorite home run bets, shared $50K Grand Slam jackpots, fast and convenient ways to play same-game parlays, special boosts and tokens, and so much more. From the first pitch to the game-winning fireworks, there are more ways than ever to supercharge your excitement. Whether you want to combine multiple bets for the chance at a bigger payout or place a live bet as the game unfolds, BetMGM has all the home run betting options you could need. Download the BetMGM app, head to the ballpark, and get your piece of the MLB action. BetMGM is an official partner of Major League Baseball. BetMGM and Game Center remind you to play responsibly. Hope is here. Call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 or older, Massachusetts only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with MGM Springfield. Play it smart from the start. Live chat at GameSenseMA.com.
Visit the 99 restaurants the day after the Red Sox win, and 99 Rewards members get a free kids meal with every adult entree purchased. The 99 Restaurant, the official family restaurant of the Boston Red Sox.
If you or someone you know is struggling with substance use, the New England Recovery Center can help. Recovery is possible. Inpatient program admission is available 24/7. Visit newenglandrecoverycenter.org or call 877-MY-REHAB.
Tuncher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hockey isn't the national sport of Canada. It's lacrosse. Thanks, No Pockets. And that's from Andrew.
Why is that your fault?
Yes, and baseball is the national sport of the United States.
Well, I will tell you this, is that you can forgive Hardy for not knowing that information because he is too wrapped up in what is Major League Soccer. Because on a Saturday evening, Dan was invited, but he did not join us. He has another business. He's a big, he's a pimp.
Prior commitment, yes.
Yeah, he goes. It's legal. He flies out. He flies out to, outside of in rural Nevada, and he has whorehouses.
Yeah, like Friday afternoon to Sunday evening.
Yeah, and then there's this guy that comes by that just then takes him on vacation from there.
He watches.
That was a little Freudian.
Sorry.
That was a little Freudian. If you don't know, Dan has a gentleman caller that has been paying for his vacations for.
It's a great narrative, yes.
I don't know.
But he was married to a woman, so who knows where Dan's at?
Okay, but here's the thing. You keep calling him a gentleman caller. They don't date. He's more of a gentleman suitor. I believe he would like to make more time.
I don't want to. I don't know the guy, so I don't want to.
But he's not
position him as anything. I'm just saying he calls Dan. Maybe I'm using caller like a benefactor, maybe. Yeah, Dan, whatever you're comfortable with. I don't want to put labels on it. Whatever your pronouns are, we'll roll with.
Thank you.
All right.
Betrothed.
Well, now you see, you're still stomping on his pronouns.
Yeah.
They probably aren't even pronouns. I'm lost when it comes to all that stuff. But whatever. Dan's a male whore. And he goes out with this guy. No, I'm just kidding. So Mike Lockhart, Nick Gemelli, and Wallach Hardy and I, we all go to eat, and then we all go out to the Revolution game, and we're in the big suite, and there's Rob Ninkovich is up there with his 3 kids, and there's other radio hosts from stations bothering him, texting him, bothering him to do stuff, and he's getting annoyed. And then there's right there Adam Jones, who we know used to work here. His wife's a real spitfire. She was I had her challenge John on a 90210, and she beat him.
Oh yeah,
she smacked me
just right away, which is strange because John does have like an insane memory for that stuff.
And she had like a line of dialogue.
She might have
like
used the
season
phone.
3.
Yeah, it was really like it was more on her than you. I'll give it that way. Yeah, it was a little not in the spirit of competition. It was just kind of like. You looked up like a manuscript or something. Like you looked up one of the scripts and said, "What do they say in this episode?" I was on your side with that.
I
John.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Rich Keefe was there
with his wife. I haven't seen either one of them in a long time, so that was nice. And Fred, I'm sure you were thrilled to see our boss there, Rick Radzik.
I talked to Rick for a long time. It's funny. Everyone's like, "Did you talk
What
to Rick?"
did
I'm
he
like,
say?
"Yeah, I talk to him all the time." Yeah, he's like, "Hey, Fred." He goes, "Look at us. We're at a game." And I said, "Yeah." He was there with one of his wonderful daughters. Matt McCarthy was there. And
Tallest guy in the room, sitting in the front row.
He was
blocking
saying,
everyone's view.
He was sitting. He didn't even have a ticket. He just had a press badge.
He was sitting.
Was he really sitting
in front?
He was sitting in one of our seats. I don't care.
Front row middle,
Whatever.
McCarthy.
Yeah, whatever.
I still bet you know what,
I'm not being a dick because I don't care and I didn't make a big deal about it and you can't pretend I did and I didn't say anything. But the Revolution had legitimately given us the front row of the box. There was only 2 rows.
He
of
was
seats.
probably sitting in one of our seats.
Hey,
And you know what he was doing, Fred? He was still bitching about the Red Sox.
He was like, this. I'll tell you this soccer pitch. I wish that's the only pitch you'll see in this town. Messi. I thought you were talking about the front office of the Red Sox.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd appreciate a dang middle infielder.
Forget midfielders.
Yeah, for midfielders, more like no fielders. He was there. Kendra Middleton was there with her best female friend, and then a guy who I tried to talk to, and I didn't.
No.
Yeah, you two didn't hit it off?
No. You know we didn't hit it off.
I
know
know.
I didn't
I
care.
know.
I didn't care for the way he treated me.
I would have liked to have sat down, actually. Didn't have to be in whatever seat the ticket said, and actually watch more of the match. And eventually I did. I just took Jones' chair. I said, that's all right, Joe. You've been sitting long.
Well, I gave up and just started watching the hockey game. As soon as the hockey game got going, I said that this is enough soccer for I. Because, again, we were there, and this was a big story, so I feel like we should talk about it. Like, Messi was there. It was impressive. There were 62,000 people. They were into the game. Hardy had a scarf on and a Revolution shirt and a Revolution hat. And he didn't have something that said Masters on it, as someone on Instagram pointed out.
And I had shin guards on underneath my dungarees.
Well, I found out you didn't have a cup on later in the evening. Hey-o. And he was all dressed up. But I'll tell you this, is that the left fielder for the Red Sox moves more than Messi moved in that entire game. That, say what you will, and I don't know anything about strategy in soccer, and maybe Messi was doing exactly the right thing, but literally all I looked at, like when the Revolution scored their goal, I don't know how they scored it because I wasn't looking. I was just looking at Messi when I was watching the game, and he was in about a 5, and maybe this is the way the game is played, but he was in a 5-foot by 5-foot box for the most of that time. He stayed in an area. It's almost like he was agoraphobic. He just liked this little piece of the field, and he won't leave in that.
Or maybe he's 37 years old, getting paid millions and millions of dollars and doesn't have to do much.
Because he scored 2 goals. We missed the second one because, we had to make a somewhat of an early exit. And by the way, we heard it. We heard the crowd.
As we were walking out.
Wallach correctly identified it as we were walking out. He said, that sounds like a Messi goal based on the crowd reaction, and it was.
Oh, all the way through to Messi. They've done it again. Messi's brace. A record-setting brace. The first player in MLS history.
What the hell is a brace?
2 goals.
2 goals
Oh,
in a game.
shut up.
5 straight matches with multiple goal contributions. It's 2-1.
I'll tell you this, is that how he scored 2 goals is anyone's guess.
I don't know how
Because they get him the ball. He's in the 5 feet of land. Like, he just cover that 5 feet of land. Because it's funny because he's not doing anything cool. Like, it's not like he's, like, flipping around like Pele and stuff.
No,
like,
but he does. I have seen highlights this year.
I've seen highlights of him, whatever. I'm not talking about the highlights. I'm talking about that game.
Okay.
Like, it's not like he's doing anything particularly, like, athletic or cool.
Do you want my theory?
Yes.
On why he's
They let him?
why he's sticking in his 5 square feet of land, as you keep calling it, which I really like.
It's
I don't
true.
know. I don't know what else to call it. That's Messi's land. That little the
Yeah, he's
5
like,
by,
this is the parents'
Messi land.
He goes, this is where I feel comfortable
It's Messi
being, and I'm not,
land, yeah.
I'm not leaving.
It's 25 square feet. It's a 5 by 5 box.
It was almost like he was like a mime, and he was trapped.
I think Messi is still adjusting to the different style of play in the MLS, and he stands in his 5 by 5 box
style of
and,
play.
And I'm
Everyone's
being kind.
terrible.
I'm being kind to watch the fiddle effing around that goes on up and down the pitch for the most part.
Look at the
You know-
fiddle and pitch.
And you were on me earlier.
Fiddle effing around is just something I use.
I thought that
10
might have
times
been
a day.
soccer.
Oh,
That might have
no.
been soccer.
So watching passes get intercepted, watching the non-movement of the ball, and he said, "You know what? I'm just going to let them do their thing for a while. Why do I have to move?
Yeah, let them get
Because-
tuckered out.
Yeah, let them kind of do their thing, and at some point, I'll just slip behind the defense here." And I'll wait for the pass, and I'll score a goal.
Or
Yeah.
he's 37. He's the best soccer player in the world. He has gotten a decrease in competition by moving from Europe to here and doesn't have to do anything.
I think you're just repeating what Hardy said.
Yeah,
I think you
essentially.
literally just repeated almost the exact same sentiment.
Yeah,
Come on, Sean.
I think he watches almost with detachment, like. No, now he knows what's going to happen. I think players of Messi's caliber realize it's like that's not going to develop. Oh, that's not coming out of their end. Oh, I'll just wait. I'll just wait for them to stop screwing around and start. And once we're playing a little bit of actual soccer here, I'll do my thing, and which is what he did.
You're saying he's creating challenges in his mind
to keep himself interested.
To keep himself interested. Like, what if he's playing like tic-tac-toe with himself, like with the ball? Like, he's like, he can only move the ball to this square, or he loses
the game within the game.
It's his thing, yeah, like just so he doesn't go crazy.
Right. So I have to shoot upper right corner this time. That's where the X goes.
I don't doubt he does that.
It's like-
I bet you anything he's like, okay, I'm only gonna like score goals with like my left toe, big toe makes contact.
Only a
with
back
the
heel
ball.
tonight.
Yeah, like exactly. Like only like this. I'm gonna score off this blade of grass.
Yeah. It's like Bird. I'm just gonna shoot left-handed tonight.
That's
I'm
right.
just gonna do
Yeah.
that for fun.
2 goals and 2 assists, messing around.
And who knows what he was doing out there? He just was standing around, and there he goes. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't. When I say he didn't run to midfield, he didn't run within 50 yards of midfield. He was just hanging out, standing there. I bet you he burned 400 calories during that game. I'm serious, not joking around.
And they were both on the sprint up the middle.
If you go walk, I'll tell you this: if you go walk your dog for 45 minutes, you burn more calories than Messi burned in that game. You put in more effort than Messi put into that game. But thank you to the Revolution.
Yes.
Had a great time.
We had a wonderful
It
time.
was a great atmosphere, and the crowd was into it.
Everyone was into it. It was very nice.
Raul Martinez was there.
And we left.
Latoya Edwards. Oh, I was starstruck by those two.
Wow.
Sure. Latoya Jackson was there. It was a big whole thing. Tito Jackson was there.
Reby Jackson.
Jack Hay was there.
No.
It was a whole thing.
Jack Hay, really?
Yeah. Marla Gibbs was there. We were in box B227. All right.
Hey.
Very good. That guy with the mustache was there. All right. We'll be back in just a moment.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5.
first-round playoff series in Miami this evening. After a 20-point win Saturday night, the Celtics lead 2-1. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 7 and the tip-off at 7:30 on the BetMGM 98.5 The Sports Hub Celtics Radio Network. Al Horford's currently in his 17th NBA season, his 6th with the Celtics, and at the age of 37, he remains a key contributor to this run.
For me, the mindset is always thinking team and helping our team be in the best position. And, I'm just very grateful to be in the league for this long and be able to impact the game.
Celtics injury report is completely clean for tonight. Miami will continue to be without Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier. The Bruins are off until tomorrow night when they're back home to play Toronto, leading the Maple Leafs 3-1. The winner of this series will get either Florida or Tampa Bay next. The Panthers host a Lightning tonight, leading 3-1. The Dallas Cowboys have officially signed Patriots free agent running back Ezekiel Elliott this morning, and the Red Sox beat the Cubs 5-4 at Fenway Park last night. A bloop single by Tyler O'Neill in the bottom of the ninth gave the Sox a walk-off win. Sox are 16-13. They have tonight off. They'll host San Francisco tomorrow night, and Vaughn Grissom is expected to join the big club tomorrow. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Cape Cod Lumber and CCL Homescapes. 100% employee-owned, your go-to independent lumber yard. Partner with CCL and CCL Homescapes for all your building needs right in Abington. I'm John Wallach of Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
To go to 3 minutes, Jalen jumps the pass.
Every game.
Up top, Pasternak, here it comes.
Is one step closer to the goal. This is the home of the Bruins and the Celtics and their road to the playoffs. Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. We're back with Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. We're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube every morning. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe to keep up to date. You hit subscribe and let's not kid around. Then you're on the algorithm. Then the algorithm goes ballistic, benefiting the Beasley people, which is the bottom line. Family business. You know what I'm saying? Help the people out. I was just telling Hardy, Tony P in D.C., our friend on Instagram, was at a festival called the Glow Festival, which, you know, he's a 25-year-old single guy in D.C. He's going to go to the... But it's become obvious. It's obvious from his video that he was in a partnership with them, and they put him in, like, this VIP, like, kind of cage. Like Jay Stu has at WrestleMania. Like that little cage they put him in. And someone wrote in the comments, which are why he's so popular, DC's in desperate need of some real celebrities. I'm going to like that right now because, like, at what point does the joke run out? Like, the guy's kind of like a nerd, and people put funny things on comments, and that's the way the universe exists. But then, like everything, dance people have to ruin it. And they like go too far with it, and now he's like now he's in VIP at a festival, and it's not funny anymore. Like, now the joke's ruined. So anyone who's doing it, you're ruining the joke. But I knew it. I told you guys as soon as I started laughing at it, and it was a DIY thing. It was the community of Instagram, just mom and pa Instagram being funny, being on the same page. It was an organic, no pun intended, tone that everyone was at. And then, like, stupid rave festivals, like corporate rave festivals. Right. Instead of just people pounding ketamine and Molly, they're out there with Tony P in DC, like in a VIP thing. And now it's ruined because he's not going to stay Tony P in DC. If he keeps going getting VIP treatment, he's going to become like every other a-hole that's getting VIP treatment. I want Tony P playing golf, making salmon, and sitting at home.
Yeah, we want. We want the threat of a reveal. There's no more threat of a reveal.
Well, I mean, the hog reveal thing is not even funny anymore if he's like in places where he can't reveal his hog. I like him speaking in Richmond, Virginia. I like that. That's what I like. I don't
even like seeing him at this garden brunch thing.
See, I do, because that looks miserable. That's where I want Tony P. Like enjoying things that I would hate.
Man,
I would hate a rave
things.
festival, but like let's get out of here.
Mundane
with
skull imploding things.
like anything where there's a chance he might sleep with an attractive woman. I don't want Tony P there. I want him at the garden party with the old ladies.
Right.
So we have been talking about it. We talked at great length to Mike Reiss. If you want to check out the podcast later or the YouTube later, we had Mike Reiss on for a half an hour. Some interesting tidbits there. The amount of praise that Drake May got from Mac Brown, his coach at North Carolina. Multiple opportunities to leave. Drake May was with NIL stuff, wouldn't take any NIL money, they say, without including his teammates into it, character up and down. Everyone seems to love him. The Patriots, interestingly, tried to trade up back into the first round to get one of those receivers.
By the way, did you see Keon Coleman, who was one of the receivers you're talking about?
Yeah.
Did you see his introductory press conference
I did.
in Buffalo?
Yes, he went to Florida State, yes.
Yeah. That kid has a chance to be a winner interview for most of the season.
Yeah. And I'm sure he's really happy he's in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's happy he's up in the media mecca that is Buffalo.
But yes, Xavier Legette was the guy supposedly that the Patriots were going to try and trade up a couple of spots to get.
Yeah.
Hop over Carolina, who apparently really wanted him to get him, but Buffalo took him instead.
And as I've been stating, I don't know really, when it comes down to it, much about Drake May. I don't know anything about the other receiver from Washington. I don't know about anybody.
Jalen Polk.
And by the way, like, enough with that spelling of Jalen. I don't mean to complain about everything, but it's J-A apostrophe. Like, I mean, come on. Like, it's Jalen. I mean, it's a name that exists.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Fred. It's F ampersand $. I don't know if you saw that. That's how I spell it. All right, Jalen. Like, with the apostrophe.
Mm-hmm.
You can't fake the Irish funk. So it's got to be a vowel and then an apostrophe. Come on, we all know that. Anyway, so what I do know, though, out of all the players in the draft, who I do know is Joe Mixon. It just so happens Milton.
Yes.
Yes, I get his name wrong. Joe Milton. He happens to be the one guy in the draft that I do know a lot about. And you'd be best served if he doesn't make this team. If he does, I'm not saying it's a bad pick. I don't care. It's a 6th round. Do whatever the hell you want. If you take a guy in the 6th round, if you take a corner in the 6th round, he might not make the team either. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm not getting on the Patriots for taking him. I'm just saying, as you watch the offseason and the preseason, you root for Joe Milton not making this team.
There's going to
be atrocious.
There is going to be a preseason game or a practice where he cuts it loose and throws an 85-yard touchdown pass to somebody, and it's all in the air, and it's just a flick of the wrist, and the fans either at camp
and they should,
or at Gillette Stadium, if it happens during a preseason game, will go nuts.
But you're proving my point, though. Joe Milton is what 6'5"?
6'5", 240.
6'5", 240.
Yep.
He's got the best arm in the draft.
Oh, he's
24 years old.
Yeah.
And he sucked in college. So that's the thing. He bombed out at Michigan, and he played 1 year, really, at Tennessee. He was beat out by Hooker for 2 seasons. The guy's not 21 with all this raw talent. This guy has been in 2 blue blood programs and stinks. This I know. This is the only guy I know about in the draft.
You've seen him. You know about
I really didn't watch
Tennessee
Michigan State last year. Usually I know some guys on the Michigan State team. This I know. I never claimed to know about anyone else in this draft. They just happened to take the one guy I know in the draft.
So the Patriots will keep him and put him on the practice squad. And as we discussed earlier, there's no one that's going to poach him off the practice squad. He's going to be there.
Well,
That's it. That's what he is.
Another red flag should be one of the first things he was asked was, would he switch to tight end? Because everyone knows he can't play quarterback.
Yes.
So, I mean, these are all huge red flags. I mean, for the team. Do I want to hear what?
That question asked him. I mean, you just said it. But
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hold on, but just 1 second. But to me, isn't that a huge red flag? If you're talking about, well, wait a second, and we know there could be some questions. What if you just make him a different position altogether? Not a wide receiver to a tight end.
And not because he's like little and fast. What if I told you there was a guy 6'5", 250 quarterback that can throw it 80 yards off 1 foot, who's 24 years old. Oh, and he's a big project. You would tell me there's no way. Like you have to understand, when this guy comes into people's programs, they lose their minds. Yeah. It's like a fantasy. And every coach thinks that they can turn him into something, and they can't. The amount of hype around him when he transferred to Tennessee was enormous. And this kid has got a cannon. Look at him. He's as big as a linebacker, big as a defensive lineman.
Yeah.
He could crush. He's fast and athletic. Oh, he can't throw. He can't. Even look at the highlights of him on the bombs. They're 2-3 yards off the mark. Like, he sucks.
There's been some speculation that you could one day transition to the tight end position. I'm just curious your thoughts on that. Did teams ever talk to you about that? Or was that out of the blue? Like, would you ever have any interest in that?
Nah, you the first person I actually heard that from, to be real with you. But that'll never happen.
Yeah.
So any idea?
Let's see how badly you want to stay in the NFL.
Oh, he won't play. He's not gonna switch positions. I guarantee he doesn't. I bet you anything he'll go play at the American football or whatever the hell the other league is around.
I think it's
there.
a UFL now. They keep switching every spring.
I don't watch it. I hate to let the cat out of the bag, but
no,
I don't watch
quarterback for your New England Patriots?
That'll never happen.
No, probably not.
I'm just telling you, you don't want him to make this team. Even when, and I happened to be watching or listening to it when he got drafted, because I'm a pathetic loser, and whoever I was listening to said, "Oh, I like it," and then there was a female on the broadcast that said, "Yeah, this is great. Like, he could be on the practice squad, and if you're if you're playing against a guy that week with a big arm, I mean, he can be your practice squad quarterback." So they were even pretending. Well, that's about your ceiling. So if they're praising the pick and saying his ceiling is a real good practice squad quarterback
for a very specific team that you're going to be facing.
And again, I don't care that they took him at 6. I'm not I'm not saying like shame on the Patriots for taking him. Take whoever the hell you want. Maybe they think they can turn him into a tight end. I don't know why they took him. I just want you to know, if he makes the team as a quarterback, this is not a good news for you.
That'll never happen.
And if some disaster happens and Brissett gets hurt, and whoever the hell's backing up Brissett gets hurt, and Milton has to come in the game, holy Moses.
Come on.
That'll never happen.
No,
hopefully not, because that would mean injuries.
Fourth quarter of the third preseason game.
Oh, he'll get into a preseason game.
Joe Milton, 85-yard touchdown pass.
Oh, he could in a preseason game against people like he could throw a ball.
Yeah, if guys ain't going to be bagging groceries the following week, sure.
Oh, sure, yeah. And then everyone will call in and go, "You're an idiot and you're a loser."
Is there a wide receiver on the roster right now that can run 85 yards downfield?
You know what? I hadn't thought of that. That's an excellent point. I don't think there's anyone that's fast enough that can run down there.
There's no speedsters,
Polk can catch it in the backfield and gain 2 yards past the line of scrimmage.
As long as he's
I saw
in traffic.
that highlight about 6 times.
Yeah, he has to be with 2 guys on him. He's a great catcher in traffic.
I have no idea. I've said, for what I've read, I never watched any of those guys play. Milton is the guy I know. And so it just so happened you took him, which gives me the opportunity to speak on something I have a little knowledge on that other people probably don't. And I don't know anything about anyone else they took. I don't pretend to. I don't know anything. I've been hearing about Milton for literally 5 years. I heard about him at Michigan, and I heard a ton about him at Tennessee. Everyone couldn't shut up about him, and then they couldn't shut up about how terrible he was. We played in the SEC. Yeah, the SEC. He sucked in the SEC. He wasn't good. And every physical trait on him has reached its potential. He's not getting any bigger or stronger. He's not getting any faster. He can't play quarterback. It's like if a guy threw 150 miles an hour, a pitcher, and had no idea where the ball was going. Like, I guess maybe you take him, but you ain't going to play in the majors.
By the way, back to Polk for a second. Did you watch the Steve Smith reel where he's going through his highlights?
No.
It should concern you that 2 of them in a row came against Michigan State. Like, well, they suck. What am I supposed to learn from that?
But their coach showed such good judgment. If you go investigate how the Michigan State coach got fired, and you want to tell me a 50-year-old man doesn't have the brains in his head not to play with himself on the phone with that woman, then you're out of your mind. I'll tell you the story. You don't have to look it up. Michigan State hired a woman.
Don't. I don't want to hear this story again.
I do.
You don't want to hear it because you went to Michigan
You
State.
don't know this story?
Oh, I do. I just want to see you uncomfortable. I'm
So,
well aware what
he's
the story
uncomfortable
is.
because he went to Michigan State. Not that I'm telling the story, because it's a sexual story, but it's not the sexuality. That
I've heard it
embarrasses-
many times, Hardy.
This is how stupid. This isn't an 18-year-old. This isn't like someone who's like being led around by his lust. 50-year-old man, 50-something-year-old man. They hire a woman to come speak to the team because she's a sexual abuse survivor
Right.
of a college football team. So they bring her in to talk, which is great. You know, she's brave enough to make this talk, and I'm not white knighting. I really swear to God I believe this. She's brave enough to come. She's taking this tragedy and turning it into something positive. She's a saint for doing this. I truly believe that. This coach, this moron, then out of all the women on the planet, all the women that you could possibly, every other woman admits to masturbating. Was it on the phone or on Zoom with her? Whatever it was.
A telephone call.
Admits to masturbating on the phone with her. Are you out of your mind? Like, you have that little self-control? Like, what's wrong with you?
The best part was when they asked him about it afterwards, he was incredulous. He was like, oh, what do you mean this is wrong?
It was, and he said it was consensual, and I don't blame him, though. He had only signed a $95 million contract, which was essentially voided.
You know who might be a little vulnerable? Just an idea. The woman that you came in to talk about being sexually assaulted by a football team, this might be a little bit of a trigger for her. Just maybe you could masturbate on the phone with, I don't know, any other person on the planet than the woman you hired to come to your team as a cautionary tale to your team about the effects. Oh, my God. It's almost amazing. And you're right. He was incredulous. And he went to court and tried to get paid.
I know.
And the court laughed him out of court.
I want to drag this out longer. I want every single person who is not aware to be aware of what I did.
And it's not like he killed anyone or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the lack of judgment is just
stunning,
insane.
You okay?
I could talk to anyone on the phone and not masturbate. You could put the most beautiful woman on the phone with me, and I wouldn't masturbate. Like if the challenge was what can Fred not masturbate to at my age? Now not 16, but at 49,
almost the same age as that guy.
I've won every. You'll never stump me.
You know what?
I'll win every challenge. The woman's voice, and I can't masturbate.
I'm going to call you tonight. I bet I can get you going.
Oh, I bet you. Well, fair enough. I mean, I don't know what you have up
I
your
know
sleeve.
just what to say to you.
Boy. Yeah. You just offer me breakfast. But that's just so dumb. I couldn't help myself. Her voice was just such a turn on. Like, what are you doing? Why can't you just not masturbate?
I'm losing $80 million. Now shush.
It's more than the money.
While I go to work.
It's just the whole, like, why are you on the phone with her in that way? Like, why is this and I think he was married. Like, the whole thing is just crazy.
He was so stumped why people were upset.
Like, why were you on the phone with her? Like, why did you treat her as like someone
Who
that you
talks
should
on the
be
phone
sleeping with?
anymore?
I like to. My whole phone game is wasted. I was wonderful on the phone, and now it's all texting. I'm very upset about it. All right, we'll be back with the email segment in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Cat's Eye Cat Guard Exclusion System is the permanent solution.
The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
It is a great idea. Congratulations, Nicholas, who was out with us. He could get around just like we could.
Can I tell you the part of the night that made me laugh harder than any other? When we were leaving the restaurant, and you had something that I guess we needed to get in, or a parking pass or something. It was a nice restaurant. I mean, it's not fine dining, but a nicer restaurant than I normally go to. And as we're walking out, it's decided that Nick has grabbed an envelope, or we think Nick grabbed an envelope off the table, but we weren't sure. So as we're walking away from the table just toward like the lobby area, Fred starts going, "Nicholas!" And it's kind of a cavernous space, and then there's stairs that go up there, and then he goes into the foyer, but the doors to the main dining room are still open, and Fred says it 2 more times, "Nicholas!" I can see diners in the room turning around and looking, and Fred is just yelling for Nick, "Nicholas!"
Because Nicholas had scampered upstairs to take a dump, as is his way.
You know what he told me today, which I do not believe, and we need to have a tailor come in here. He says he had. What do you think his inseam is?
I heard you ask him, and I don't know how it's measured. Like, I'm not familiar with what inseams are.
Well, do you know what your inseam is?
I don't really know. I know that it's like the joke is like they touch your balls when they measure it, but what's the inseam? Like, what? I don't get tailored clothes very often.
Okay, well, I mean, pants, men's pants, even jeans come in. There are 2 measurements on the jeans. There's the waist and the inseam, and you might be a 34.
Oh, so
32.
it's the length of the pants.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm a 34, I think is inseam.
Okay. Right? That makes sense. You're probably like a 34.
Yes,
right?
I think that's what I get in pants. Or 34, 32.
I get a 34-32.
Okay.
Nick says he has a 32 inseam, which can't be.
Well,
it can't be.
You also have to go by width. I mean, width takes up fabric too.
I didn't think of that.
Does that make it bunch up and ride higher than it should?
Gotta.
Yeah, of course.
It's not 32.
If you put a certain amount of liquid in a certain amount of space, it's going to expand the space.
Like Dan O'Brien probably has a 30-inch inseam. Am I? Dan, what is it?
You might be generous on that. Come down to 29. Yeah, 28, 29.
Okay. Okay. But there's no way Nick has a 32-inch.
I'm shrinking, Hardy. I'm going the other way.
Yeah, I have a 30. I think 34.
Nicholas, can you take your trousers off and bring them in here so I can see the label, please?
Nicholas, don't you dare give in to that. He's trying to trick you into taking your pants off. Nicholas, don't do it! Nicholas! Have you gone up? He's always walking up and down stairs to take dumps. I didn't even know there was an upstairs to the restaurant.
Exercise. He needs to exercise.
No. It's to make waste. And he was. Is that why you were upstairs there, Nick? Why were you upstairs there? Was it to make waste? Is that what you were doing? Were you making?
Making waste.
He says there was a museum up in the second floor of the restaurant. So
because it was the Paul Revere situation.
Yes.
And so he went up to take a dump around the artifacts.
Very famous. That's where Paul Revere used to dump in the old days. Upstairs.
Ooh, in a copper pot.
Yes.
Because as you had to throw it out the window.
Right.
And the higher up you went, the further it went.
What? In case the British were scamping around underneath.
So Nicholas went up when we were all leaving the restaurant just to go look at memorabilia before we left? Okay.
Yeah.
Look at Nick. You can't contain him. He's got a childlike curiosity.
History buff.
History buff. Revolutionary War buff. That's right. Nicholas.
Yep.
We have
people were his size back then. He can fit in the because you know when you go into some of those places like the ceiling's real low.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick doesn't have a problem with that. He has a problem getting through the door.
We have many emails read about the Revolution game.
Yeah,
the Revolution
Are you going to
match.
read the one that we are officially pink hats?
Yes. I was going to read that one.
I got it right here. After Messi Rev story, I never want to hear you complain about pink hats at sporting events again. I don't know if we've done that in quite some time. You went just because it was the place to be. Oh, and it was free.
Yeah. So, yes, guilty.
Yeah, I would never pay to go there.
I don't think any of us had planned on going, but we were invited, so we went.
You don't care about the team that took the spot from a true Rev soccer fan. Well, that's just not true. That's your own ignorance of sporting events. It was a Revolution box.
I
told
would-
you it was in the box.
I would venture-
Rob Ninkovich was in the box. He didn't care.
I would venture to say 65% of the fans that were there wanted to see Messi.
No, but just the ignorance of the general
Just
idea.
Messi.
Just the ignorance of the general idea that we took to see from a fan is completely ignorant about how major sports work. We were in a box, the Revolution box.
And for what it's worth, I've probably been to 50 Revolution games. That's a soft estimate.
Because
Many
Hardy
matches.
has to take anyone they offer him money. He said, do you literally wear a pink Messi cap for shame? And that's from Mitch. And no, but Hardy wore his little outfit. He had the whole thing going. I put it up at Fred Dutcher.
I was at one of the playoff games where Charlie Davies played, and I was legitimately excited to meet him like years later because I had seen him when took the kids to I think it was a semifinal. We saw Charlie Davies play, and then I introduced my kids to him. And that was like it was a big moment. I'm like, yeah, we watched that guy.
Who is he?
Charlie Davies.
Yeah.
He's a Revolution great. He's now an analyst.
He calls the game.
For what?
Alongside Brad
On this
Kelly.
radio station.
Oh, he's on the HD.
Yeah, really good dude.
Good luck finding
He's
it.
a good guy.
That's like parallel technology. Boy, they dropped the ball on that HD technology. They had a whole other way to get you the radio, and they screwed
I
it
wonder
up.
how much money MLS is making on that Apple deal, and how much of it they just have to hand right over to Messi in order to figure out a way to get him paid. But to watch, if you wanted to watch that match on Saturday, good luck, have fun.
Because it was
Figure
on
that
HD
out.
radio and on
Apple
streaming
whatever.
service.
MLS Apple deal.
MLS/
Well, it's an MLS package. If you have Apple TV, that doesn't mean you get to watch the match.
brand
no, there's
new,
something.
yeah.
There's something beyond that that you have to purchase.
And how much does it cost?
I don't know. I don't want
So
to.
say it costs $30. That's so. Think of you the MLS 30 times 6.
Yep.
I mean, you're making $180.
And that goes right to Messi, $180 for standing.
I mean,
in a
how many people?
5 foot by 5 foot square.
How many people do you? Not kidding. How many people do you think bought the MLS package?
$14.99 a month.
Okay, how many people do you think bought the MLS package? You have to have Apple Plus. How many people do you think bought that package?
1,000.
That's
across this great country. of
Across
ours?
the world.
Across the world.
2,000. That's a fair estimate.
No.
That's a fair estimate.
2,000 people bought it?
Yeah. Because even if it wasn't showing in New England anywhere, you had to buy the MLS thing to see it in New England? Or did you just have to have Apple Plus?
You need the MLS package on Apple
To see the home team?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, well, that's stupid. Well, I guess no one's watching anyway, so I think John's right. 2,000 people.
Worldwide.
Worldwide.
Yes. 1,000 in this country, and maybe 500 of those were in the last week.
Because
from Revolution fans.
Because I would say that, like, if you're the Revolution, you probably want to be on TV just so if someone was bored, they might like come across you.
Yeah.
But if you have to pay for it, people bitch about paying for the Bruins and Red Sox. So I would imagine John's right that no one's paying that amount of money.
Sports Business Journal reported in February that the MLS package has surpassed 2 million subscribers. However, it's unclear how many are actually paying for it since the service was made free to T-Mobile subscribers and MLS season ticket holders.
It's like that song.
Yeah.
Aha!
Yeah. 2 million people, huh? Yeah. That's exactly how many people subscribe to it.
And all but 2,000 are T-Mobile subscribers.
There's not a chance in hell 2 million people signed up for it for free. That I can tell you. There's just no way. So I'm going to challenge. I know that it's a big operation. But
Fred's observation that Messi never leaves a 5 foot by 5 foot patch of grass. Joe emailed us and said a couple of things. Number one, he's always just floated around when the ball doesn't near him. He'll literally walk around in midfield and then suddenly hit a burst of speed on a run. He plays absolutely zero defense at this stage. I can see why Fred thinks that, but when he does move, my God. And also, he did the same thing at World Cup, and the physicality is different in the MLS, which, I've heard people talking about the differences. So, and then there is the tinfoil hat theory, which Christopher put out there. He said, He stands in the square because it's not grass and he doesn't want to risk injury.
I don't think that's a tinfoil hat thing. I thought the whole thing, the whole thing was he didn't want to play on it. Who's Noah Kahan?
I don't know, but if I see this highlight one more time,
Noah Kahan. Who's Noah Kahan?
I don't know.
Singer-songwriter from the great state of Vermont.
I don't know how you don't know how to throw a baseball. That is insane to me. Like I could see it in the yips and throwing it wherever. Like I get that. Like I get not throwing it to the catcher. It's not where the ball goes. That's not what I'm saying. It's that not having the motion to throw something forward is insane. Like my son and daughter could throw something forward before they could walk or talk. Like like my daughter, who doesn't play any game involving throwing now, could throw a ball 1,000 times better than that guy. I didn't even see where the ball went. I take it didn't go far.
Did not go far, no.
But just the motion of the arm. Like Kendra was disgusted by Felger's motion. Like he doesn't know how to throw either.
Not an old man either.
No, it's not age. It's just that I don't know how you don't know how to throw.
With the football thing, I finally saw that clip you were talking about. He's trying to. It's got a marker on the end of the football, so you almost have to throw it like a dart, or it didn't leave a mark on the big board. Yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
I could get a football's point to hit that board 100 times out of 100, throwing with my eyes closed as hard as I can. And I'm no great athlete, believe me. I'm not under the illusion I am, but I certainly know how to throw something.
We're talking. We don't know who Noah Kahan is. 2 shows at Fenway Park this summer.
Yeah, well,
not one.
I'm old.
Whoa.
What do you want about me?
You know what the worst part is?
Did you see what Kendra put on Instagram? The little dig at us.
No.
Like something about our age, like we're dad's night out or something like that. Like, all right, honey, you're 28. Enough with this.
No spring chicken.
Exactly. You're not. I mean, come on. There's a whole crop of a new generation behind. I'm knocking at your heels. I said ageism is what I replied to that. I said it's ageism, and I didn't care for her male friend.
He didn't care for you either.
No, well, that's why I didn't care for him. I was being nice, and I quite frankly, was
Fred's
rude.
got a hard rule. Anyone who doesn't like me, I don't like them.
Well, I was trying to be charming.
So you came up to him, you introduced yourself, you were being nice, and he was standoffish.
Kendra was sitting in this one seat. She had her female friend next to her in another seat, and a guy next to her in the third seat.
Yes.
So there was 2 women, man. It was Kendra, woman, man. I was talking to Kendra briefly before we left. I said, "Oh, this is your friend." I said to her female friend, I said, "Oh, Kendra said so much great things about you. She said you're your best friend. It's so nice to meet you." And then I went, "Oh," to the guy. I go, "Oh, Kendra's talked about you a lot too. She likes you, but not as much as her." And he goes, "Yeah, well, I write about the Celtics."
That was his answer?
Yeah, and I went, "All right, well, I like the color blue."
Oh, yeah? I'm a media man. Back off.
Kendra says, "You are old and angry today. Everything with old." And he's not my male friend. He works in sports, you freak. Well, is he not? How is he not? He's a male and your friend. I didn't say he's your boyfriend. I said he's a friend of yours that's a male. He's the male of the 2. I forget his name. I don't know the girl's name either.
You and Kendra got a lot to work out.
I like the girl. The man was,
I know.
he was
I'm
rude.
Just saying, maybe you 2 kids.
And she goes, "And he works in sports." Well, that doesn't mean he's rude. Rod Ninkovich was nice. He's a fan of the show. I got
Very
along
handsome
famously
man.
with Adam Jones. I liked seeing Rich Keefe. I saw Rick Radzik. The whole thing was great. But Mike did make a good point. Lockhart afterwards goes, "Imagine if we did this like 4 years ago." And I went, "Oh my God, you're right." Like Mike today would have gone like, "Oh yeah, like how'd you like talking to Radzik?" And I'd be like, "Radzik was there." And he'd go, "Yeah," and I'd be like, "Oh boy." And then the investigation would have to begin.
That's right. You'd have to piece it together.
And then Kendra would text me and be like, "That's not my male friend." And I'd be like, "Huh?" And I'd be like, let's soft pedal this. And then texting like, just kidding. What do you mean?
Monday morning, the questions and texts begin.
Yes.
What happened?
Let's investigate, shall we? And then I'll go, "Mike, what happened?" And he'd go, "I don't know." And I go, "Oh, well, fantastic. We're browned out. This is fun." Now, I do recall leaving. So let's try to patch up what happened between arriving and leaving. but that was a good point by Mike.
Yeah.
That's one good thing about life now is that I'm nothing gets by me. I'm comfortable coming on the air and saying,
yeah,
Kendra's male friend, jerk.
Mm-hmm.
Take it or leave it. Kendra and her female friend, both delightful. Rob Ninkovich was delightful. Keith, Jones, all delightful. Their significant others, delightful.
Yes.
It was a delightful time. Rick Radzik's daughter's delightful. Rick was delightful. Only one bad seed. Matt McCarthy was delightful. The one bad seed, male friend. Rude.
Big jerk.
I didn't talk to him.
I didn't either.
Well, it's your good fortune.
Oh.
Because he probably, if he was a dick to me, he'd probably be even worse to you.
That's a good
can
point.
you imagine?
Yeah, he wouldn't even talk to me.
He handed me a resume and threw it in. He crumpled it up and threw it at me, essentially.
I write for the Celtics.
Okay. Where? In the if you
For
fly
the
up
Celtics or about the Celtics?
in the sky?
About the Celtics.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah, I write it on the beach before high tide comes in.
With a stick? You just write it on there.
You know, we probably had 100 Celtics writers on, and I can't make heads or tails of you. All right, very good. I'm sure he's the best, but he just rude. No social skills.
Went from prick to, I'm sure he's the best.
Yeah, he's just nice to everyone else. Maybe it's me, but it wasn't, and I know it wasn't. I was charming, and I know exactly what I said, and it was charming and fun. It was charming and fun, and if it was me, I would have been nice. I was nice. I did the right thing. You praised the woman. You'd be nice to the guy, but you don't give as much praise as you did to the woman. I did everything right, played it by the numbers, and still got it thrown back in my face. Kendra, you got to talk to him about behaving himself. Kendra, talk to him about behaving himself in the box. He's embarrassing you around the talent.
The tide came in.
The tide came in. I don't care that he writes about the Celtics. It's no excuse for just because he has some highfalutin job. Don't mean he can throw that in my face. Doesn't make him better than me in the Lord's eyes. All right, so we'll be back and find out what's going on in this midday show of ours in just a moment.
Sports Hub headlines.
It'll be the Celtics and the Heat in my.
possibly have missed from the show. It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
We were just looking at the stats. The Suns, who got swept by Minnesota, and Minnesota was a 3 seed, by the way. So it wasn't like that was supposed to happen.
Well, I mean, you can Oklahoma City,
it's
Minnesota.
my point is my point. It wasn't like they played Denver and
Right.
Denver swept them. Like it's Minnesota, which is a young team. When was the last time Minnesota won a playoff series? It's probably been decades. So I mean, so anyway, so they got Beal, Durant, and Booker, and the problem is they were combined minus 51. Beal had one of the worst games of his career, and there's no getting out of it. Like they're married to these 3 guys, and you said, John, it was the owner that made this happen.
The new is it Ishbia,
Who
whatever
cares?
it was.
Well, yeah, whatever
The new Phoenix Suns owner wanted Bradley Beal. He wanted Kevin Durant. He wanted a big time lineup, and he said give them all the picks they want. And the GM, whoever it was, his name escapes me, correctly said, "This is lunacy. You don't want to do this." No, I want this guy. And look what happened. You're going to pay these guys forever, and you just got swept in the first round. And by the way, that's Minnesota's first playoff series win since 2004. So you are Phoenix. You were supposed to make a run at the NBA title. You just got swept in the first round by a team that wasn't even the top seed in your conference.
And by the way, so it's going to be interesting what they do. I guess they're stuck. I heard Windhorst, who ate himself with no facial hair. There's a point where sometimes you can eat yourself out of facial hair. It's a very thing. It's a very rare thing, but it can happen.
The cheeks push out to the point where the hair follicles have no more room.
For whatever
They
reason,
disappear back inside.
Something.
I never brought this up, but this is something for the stack. Is that Verlander had an idea that with the pitching injuries and the amount of relievers being used and the lack of starters, his idea, and they made the rules for that. You can't pull relievers as quickly anymore. What if you made it that if your starter didn't go 5 innings, you lost your DH? That if you took your starter out, there was a punishment for taking your starter out beyond just like a lopsided score. Like if you pulled your starter before he completed 5 innings, you lose your DH for the game.
But what's the benchmark?
Yeah, if there's a way to
there's
quantify
no benchmark.
that.
It's 5 innings. He has to complete 5 innings.
You said aside from a lopsided score.
No. I didn't. No, I'm saying that I'm like this would prevent it. I'm saying that if you're pulling.
Okay.
No. I said
outside
it wrong.
of injury.
Yeah, outside of injury. Which you would, I guess I don't know how you would do that, but outside of injury, that if you pull the
You
starter,
saying they would fake an injury?
I know there's an unwritten rule of not faking things. Yeah. It's one of the unwritten rules of baseball.
Can we say a quick congratulations to Detroit, who managed an attendance record for the draft? 775,000 fans.
He said 400,000 people were coming into the city.
And over the course of multiple days. And then Governor Gretchen Whitmer thwarted multiple kidnapping attempts to announce to the crowd that...
which is not a lie.
That's not a lie.
There's some...
It's been an historic week in the great city of Detroit. Honored to announce that the draft has now broken an all-time record. And even the mayor said his jaw dropped when he heard the number.
It's nice that Detroit gets this because, like, when Hardy and I was growing up, it was just such a pit of despair and just such a terrible place. But it is, if it was any other city, it would be kind of sad.
Yeah, but, I mean, Nashville held the previous record, 3-day attendance record of 600,000 people in 2019.
That means Detroit's better than Nashville.
There you go.
I mean, there's no doubt about it now. Despite not having Kid Rock moving his talents and his bar to Broadway in Nashville.
Maybe this will get him to move back. Fingers crossed.
For a while there, he wouldn't have Bud Lights on the account of the trans person that they put on the whatever the hell the controversy was with that made no sense. But now he's allowed Bud Light back into the bar, which has pissed some people off.
Right.
That's a whole controversy. That
I know.
I'm like, I don't even care. Like, I'm not getting involved.
I didn't bother to investigate.
Nope.
I'm like, this is so stupid.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. I ain't drinking that beer no more. Okay. Good for you.
Zoe's here.
Hi, Scott.
Hey.
Now we got to go.
How was your trip Saturday night?
Gotta go.
Make it down here?
It was the first time I've been around to where you live. The property value is very low. It's very far from the city.
Huh.
It was like an adventure. It was like when Kramer went to the other side of town. It became a midnight cowboy type thing.
So who was in a box with you guys?
I don't know. This guy just kept driving around the parking lot asking if I needed a ride and a place to stay.
Who's the guy in the mustache you're talking about? You said there was a guy in a mustache. You were going through a list of people that were in a box.
No.
Nope.
That never came.
No, I dared. Dan?
No.
Not a guy with
I
a
can say
mustache.
with all certainty.
No, I was
never,
paying attention.
There's never talk of a guy with a mustache.
I heard it, and that's what
I'll tell you this. There's a crisp $20 bill if you can have someone go through and find audio of me talking about a guy with a mustache in there. Because I have not. Ron Jeremy is in jail, and he's the only guy I know with a mustache. All right, what do you got cooking today, Scotty C?
We got Bruins, Celtics, but start with the draft. We got Phil Perry in for an hour to help break things down.
You like this Joe Milton kid?
I didn't like him. I thought he was lazy in his combine workouts and that, but he's interesting because he could throw about as far as I can.
He's the only guy in the draft I know anything about.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play much.
No, you better hope he doesn't play much. Or
he's intriguing,
there's not going
right?
to be as many people listening to the games.
You always get one of these guys. Like
I don't care that they drafted him, and I'm not insulting him for drafting him. I'm just saying it's for everyone's best interest. He never makes the team. That means that the team is.
It's the one guy Fred knows everything about in college.
The one guy, honestly, the one guy that I've known about the whole time he was in college. All right, that'll do it for us. Everyone have a great day. Enjoy Zolak and Bertrand. Bye.